Did you guys see that Joel Embiid was asked, because he's thought about wanting to play in the hypothetical American football, and he's a very good soccer player somehow at 7 feet. I can't even imagine. I'd have to lean on Mike and Whittingham to tell me, given how I have seen that our beloved what's his name? I forgot his name. The Zoltan. What's his Zlatan. Excuse me. Our beloved Zlatan is just taller and bigger than everyone else. Joel Embiid is saying he would be a cornerback in American football, a cornerback, because of his ball hawking skills. And I just want you to imagine that.
He would have the height matchup.
I loved that the University of Miami this year had a safety that was 6'5", who was clearly James Williams is just bigger than everybody else back there. Now imagine that pterodactyl Embiid, like running around with the feet and ball hawking skills of a cornerback.
But he looks lumbering when he's running up a basketball court.
Yes.
And like he's plotting and he can't.
Oh, he's not fast enough to be a cornerback.
Right, just like he doesn't have the range.
No, he'd be a terrible cornerback.
Maybe zone coverage, put him in the middle somewhere.
Play a little center field.
Yeah, center field. Yeah.
But what I love is a future where football is healthier and more valued than basketball, so we can in the future see some combination of Shaq at tight end being guarded by a linebacker Joel Embiid size.
Who do you imagine from the NBA would be the greatest shutdown corner? Because I think it's Russell Westbrook. That guy would shut you down, man.
That's a good question. I think Ja Morant would probably be pretty good there, too.
You have to go with, like, the defensive stoppers, like Matisse Thybulle or something like that. I know they're not big names, but they're the guy, like, you literally can't dribble around Matisse Thybulle or Kawhi Leonard or something like that. Ja Morant's actually pretty terrible at defense.
Gary Payton.
The glove.
Is his son also the glove? Does his son have any nicknames? Right, Gary Payton's son is supposed to be a very good prospect. No?
GPJ.
Is that real? Is that
Gary
real?
Payton Jr.?
Thank you, Stugotz, for the clarification.
Just making sure. You never know.
The elaboration. Yeah, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known what you meant by that, by giving me his monogram, his initials right after that.
I was watching SVP last night, and Ryan Clark was just torching this poor DB for the Bears about how could you not cover Jefferson. And it's like he's in such a bad spot. It's so hard to play DB. Like, everybody knows where he's going. The DB, this poor DB trying to cover Justin Jefferson. And it's just like, what a fool this guy was. You have to block his outside. It's like he has no idea where he's going.
Do you realize,
do
you realize, Chris Cody, that every coaching session that has ever been played after a game that Justin Jefferson is in, the opponents have been screaming in the meeting room, how can you not cover Justin Jefferson? Because he can't be covered. It doesn't matter.
I'm just looking at this poor DB who has no idea where he's about to go. The whole field is open on either side of him. He's just like, I got this guy. And he's just doing the double juke.
But it's not just that, Stugotz. If you're watching like how precise all these routes are and how covered everyone somehow is in that sport, but now you see Jefferson run across the center of your field, and the way his stride is like Usain Bolt's, and he's just making more ground up. Like I'm not kidding you, Stugotz, when I say it looks like a video where you are showing me the very best athlete in the jungle, like the very best athlete, because it's like a cheetah watching him take the big giant strides across 5 yards. No one can keep up with him, and the guys chasing him are also smaller.
I love doing this with Gary Payton Jr. because he's new to a lot of people. How old do you think he is?
Oh, is he 30?
You called him a hot prospect. He's 29 years old. He's the same age as Kyrie Irving.
Get out of here.
Same age as Kyrie Irving.
What?
29.
So does he have a nickname of some sort?
I mean, Young Glove, but Gary Payton.
GPJ.
Yeah, Gary Payton Jr. I remember him playing in the 20-teens college basketball. He's just been in the G League. He's actually a shining beacon and testament to the G League's development program, but he is not some hotshot prospect.
I'm
He's on
sorry.
the back end of his career.
I am sorry. He is past his prime. We've already arrived at the day, Stugotz, you and I, where Gary Payton, the glove, one of the best point guards of our generation, has a son that's past his prime. And I'm sure Gary Payton is also at this point, I'm guessing, a grandfather if he's got a son.
Jesus.
Who,
What has happened?
for all I know, also has a son who is making his way through the AAU circuit because we're now recruiting 10 and 11 years old.
Same age as Kyrie Irving is astounding. What? Kyrie Irving's been in my life for as long as I can remember.
He won't leave it.
And it's felt even longer than that.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Has Kyrie Irving been in your life for as long as you can remember, and it feels even longer than that? It is true. He was a freshman at Duke, and how old was he? 17, 18 years old?
Just his public comments the last 3 years are enough for 3 lifetimes.
It's so true. And he wins right now, right? What a win.
Well, he wins because he was coming back as a savior, but then he went right on the COVID
Coming back
list.
and testing positive
I'm
is winning.
saying, this is why I'm saying
not
it's
doing
winning.
that.
Okay?
Playing every other game.
Listen, this is what I am willing to argue. You tell me what the holes are in my theory when I say Kyrie Irving wins, okay? I did not understand. It was a strange sort of hunger strike, what he was doing. Not antivirus, just being Kyrie, maximum Kyrie. He wasn't fighting for freedom. Nobody really knows what he was fighting for.
For Kyrie.
I don't think. And he doesn't nuke the Nets season because he just didn't make a lot of money every game, and the Nets are still the best team in the conference with all manner of disarray around them record-wise. And then he finally decides to come back because the Nets have acquiesced and said, okay, we need you, and you can not play the New York games. And now you're on the team, and now you're on the roster, and as soon as you arrive, you test positive, and now they have to pay you for that. And I don't know, like, he just got some of his money back. I don't know if that qualifies as winning or not, but at the very least, it's like $500,000 a game. So he's going to get a few $1 million for this.
I mean, I guess because they turned to him in desperation and kicked the tires on the possibility of him only playing road games again. That's winning, I guess, but it's a kind of goalpost moving winning that they do with Joe Rogan. See, he conquered COVID, doing things his way, but in his most desperate time, he turned to a horse dewormer. I'm not really sure that's winning.
But Mike, they didn't kick the tires. They agreed to it. They actually agreed to it.
No, I mean
Right.
conceptually, like.
But I would say, like,
That's
getting
a hard part for him to overcome is the Nets finally agreeing to this bizarre situation where they have their star player play only road games.
But I guess, I mean, doing it the way I would do it, if you're making a few $1 million when you weren't and now you are, to still not play, to do the same thing you were doing before, that's winning.
Stugotz, in my recollection, I'm going to see if I've got the history right on this because I don't have a library cataloged of all the things of weirdness that involve a guy playing only road games. So maybe I'm missing some, and this has happened before. But the only other time I've heard about this is when the Toronto Blue Jays were trying to get around the embargo by having Cuba's third baseman, Omar Linares, who was supposed to be an all-star, come over and play games only in Canada. He was only going to play home games half of a season. It's the only other time I've heard of a guy being able to bend the will of a sport and screw with the freedoms of a sport enough to do what Kyrie Irving has done, which is like, okay, if I can't play in New York because of government laws, I'm still going to play in the road games. And you guys are going to be so desperate to have me back because everybody's hurt. And I just saw a Nets game in which the leading scorers were Robin Lopez and Patty Mills because nobody is playing out there. Because nobody is playing out there.
They're 21-9 still.
Yeah, they're still very good, and Kyrie hasn't dribbled a ball for them this season. Which should terrify you, Mike, incidentally, as a Miami Heat fan, that team can have all manner of dysfunction, and the talent on it is such that it can be repaired at any moment because those three guys are so great.
I think you could say the same thing about the Miami Heat, though. Everybody's season is mutated. Just get in all the sports, just get to the playoffs. And we'll figure it out then. And I'm sure the testing will be more lax when you get to the playoffs. just get into the tournaments and have these screwy sample sizes and survive this war of attrition that is the regular season amidst a pandemic. Kyrie Irving's being turned to in desperation. Shit, Mario Chalmers may be turned to. Jamal Crawford may be turned to. They're picking guys. Oh, we got a guy out with COVID. Sign somebody that was in the league before. It's astounding what's happening right now.
But it seems like the Heat have to get a lot of guys healthy. Like everyone needs to be right. They all need to be healthy. The Nets just need 2 of those 3 to be good. I mean,
it would help if all
2 of those 3
of them.
it would, Dan. But if 2 of those 3 are good, we still don't know what they look like at their absolute best, and if that's good enough to win a title. And if you're pointing to the Nets and saying, well, they haven't had their entire team together, afford that to everybody else.
Stugotz saying that like the Nets just need 2 of those 3 guys. So like you have them with like I'm waiting for Raymond Felton to be signed back into the NBA. Like just like Nick Collison is going to return just because they need warm bodies.
All right, give us some of these guys who are going to make their way from the fringes.
Kirk Heinrich is going to be signed again.
Luke Ridnour is going to make an appearance.
We're going to forgive Myers Leonard.
10-day Tony.
No, we're not.
What?
Oh, wow. Let's try it.
Why,
Could
Chris,
never
you
get
fall
filled
into
up
the
on
bear
that.
trap
No,
of
Let's do it.
putting forward
Let's
things that you have to do now?
Let's do it as one of your punishments. Let's do it. You
Just
can
at your own pace.
One day you can only eat edamame. Let's see how
sounds
sick
delightful.
and how
You-
fast.
Like right now, you're
You're
thinking
going to get
that
so
I'm like,
sick of it.
like
So
dreading-
sick of it.
All right, put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Eating 24 hours of edamame, delicious or disgusting? Only 24 hours of just this food.
Could you do that with anything? With any food?
I suspect, yes, there are foods that you could do that with. Any number of food. You can eat
Edamame
burgers.
Cheetos.
Burgers
Edamame is
for a
pretty
day.
high on the list of foods that I feel like won't ever make you full. Like you picture yourself getting full off edamame.
Well, French fries. Don't you imagine you can eat French fries all day?
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
they're
imagining-
filling, man. Potatoes
A lot
are
of protein.
filling. Yeah.
I'm just imagining hour 15 of all of these and just being, I can't with this taste anymore. It's like when you eat popcorn at a movie theater and eventually you stop tasting the popcorn. It's just salty dryness.
But you still eat it.
Yes, no, you keep shoveling in it until the bag is empty. But when you're 3/4 of the way through that large bag of popcorn, you're not enjoying it anymore. You're eating it just to eat it.
But it's not eating 24 straight hours. It's the only thing you can eat for 24 hours, right? Because you could do that with a lot of things. Just eat one thing for 24
Well,
hours.
Chris initially set forth 24 straight hours.
There needs to be a minimum per hour. Like I need to take X amount of bites per hour, I'd say.
Well, we're going to do this. So now I don't know how we arrive at doing it, testing whether or not you're going to
Hildy,
feel
get a bunch of
disgust.
edamame.
But edamame is the only thing you're going to eat for a day. I too like edamame, and it has to be. You would agree it has to have some salt on it, right? You
Oh,
can't have it
I always
without.
add
Tons of
salt.
salt,
You always
yeah.
got to add your own salt. I mean, they come salted, but you got to do a little more.
Well, but I wanted to ask the group here. Now that we're here, thank you, Whittingham, for dragging us here. The popcorn as a movie theater experience. Are we all in agreement that you finished that bag and you're a little disgusted with yourself after finishing that bag?
I love this game of midway through the movie because Whittingham is 1,000% right. At some point, you get disgusted with popcorn and you put it on the seat next to you.
But
and it sits there.
disgusted with yourself too, no? It's
Yeah.
not just disgusted with popcorn.
No. You're
okay
you're
with
just
myself,
feeling
yeah.
you're feeling full, but and this is a great but. You always go back.
Mhm.
You always go back to the
Of course you
popcorn,
do.
and when you do, you feel like you've accomplished something. You feel like, you know what, this popcorn dominated me, but I'm back.
Guillermo, put it
thought I
on the
was done,
poll,
I'm
please.
back.
Have you ever put the popcorn by your side? Put the popcorn by your side, done with it, and left it there during the movie.
Never happens.
Like you cannot do that, right?
I mean, amateurs do that.
Yeah, but nobody
You
does
always
that, right?
go back,
Nobody
Dano.
puts the popcorn to the side and then doesn't go back to it. But everyone has the intent of putting it to the side. And
You
not
put it to the
going-
side, Dan. If you let it sit there for enough time, it feels like you're eating it again for the first time. It does. It does.
Mike, how do you feel
Having
about all
popcorn all
of
over
this?
again.
Are you disgusted by yourself? Are we all people who will eat the entire bag of giant popcorn? And they got me with this the other day at the Don't Look Up thing that we went to, where they're like, well, just 49 more cents and you go from medium to large. And
Oh,
it's
you
like,
have
Got you every time.
it's
Why
like,
wouldn't you?
You didn't even have to say that. Take my 49 cents. Of course, I will have you rob me just to go. I don't need as much as medium. I'm going to be disgusted with myself at about medium. But yes, for 49 cents, I cannot refuse the bargain.
I never get popcorn at a movie theater.
Really?
Nah, I
Ugh,
just
wow.
feel
Same.
This may come as a surprise.
Wine and a
considering
steak?
The cinemas that I attend.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't see.
fancy.
I do the
for
cost
popcorn in a
analysis
movie
on the
theater.
popcorn. And I'm just like, no. I'd rather have a fine bottle of Bordeaux.
Why were you American Psycho Christian Bale there?
I love going to the movies. Goddamn shame that there's this variant scaring people away from it. I had a delightful. You know what I went to? I went to the Spider-Man movie on Friday, and I heard a full theater applaud several times during a movie.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that in years.
Mhm.
I longed for it. I didn't.
It's a
get
great
out.
feeling, almost as good as like the universal laughter. That's the most infectious. That'll make a movie 20% funnier to you if
Yeah.
everyone is laughing at the same time in a crowded movie theater. Like my impression of several movies in the mid 2000s is based like I thought Get Smart was the funniest thing that I'd ever seen because there's like 3 scenes where everyone's laughing, and then you watch it on HBO 18 months later. It's like, this isn't that funny.
It's better when there's a bad movie and everyone in the crowd's like booing and heckling it and laughing at it, and you realize like, midway through the movie, like, wow, this movie's trash, and then you're all in it together and everyone's like screaming at like there's like a bad line of dialogue and everyone's like, are you kidding me? It's the best.
Whittingham, Get Smart is what you did this with.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that scene where Steve Carell vomits into a bag as they're flying across the country in an hour, and the vomit is spilling out of the bag, uproarious laughter. And then I watch it back, and I'm like, not that funny.
Mike, I can't believe that you are somebody who doesn't eat any popcorn, but now that you have experienced Spider-Man, I need your help. I saw Willem Dafoe, who I encourage you, if you want a different kind of movie, to descend into a deep, dark madness. Watch The Lighthouse with
It's a Christmas movie.
with Willem.
Why do I want to descend there,
No,
though?
it's-
we
it
decided
is
this
a-
last week.
it
The
is
Lighthouse
a-
is a
How do
Christmas
we keep
movie.
doing this?
It is a descent into madness, but I was delighted in hearing Willem Dafoe.
I turned to it last night after Daniel Carlson made that kick. I hadn't moved for 20 minutes, and I decided I need a light departure. I need a quick pick me up. Let me put on the Lighthouse.
He was talking about doing the stunts in Spider-Man. He insisted on doing the work himself, and Defoe's got to be in his late 60s.
He's
at this
66
point.
years old.
So he's going to be a superhero at 66.
Well, super villain, Dan. He's a Green Goblin.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Fine.
But it works. It's not a fine.
Does Willem Dafoe work
that
as
was
a
a superhero.
supervillain?
No, doing his own stunts.
He's the ultimate supervillain.
Doing his own stunts at 66. You could have transported just his character in The Lighthouse into this Spider-Man, and I'd watch it.
I would watch that character that's actually a really funny idea. Just transplanting
The Marvel Universe.
his character from the Lighthouse and putting it into like a normal film. And
What
everyone
about his
just has to
Speed
work
2
around it.
one with the leeches that he was like pulling off of himself?
Yeah, what about it? I would
That
the Lighthouse character instead of that character with the leeches. Yes, everything's made better with Lighthouse Willem Dafoe.
It's hard to explain to people if you haven't seen it. I would. You're going to have a grimy film on you if you watch it. It's really an unpleasant, cold. Imagine living in an unpleasant, dark, damp can for 2 hours of misery and as I said, madness.
With a roommate that's constantly jerking off.
It's maximum Defoe.
Sounds like college.
But check it out. It's a holiday movie.
Speaking of movies, American Underdog with Kurt Warner is coming out. And
I want to see it.
No, you don't.
I want to see it.
I mean, come on.
I do. I want to see it on demand. I don't want to go to the theater, but I want to see it.
Does he wear that silver gilet that he was wearing last night?
The one that makes him look like a Chipotle burrito.
This Sean Payton movie that with Kevin James, that's just mocking the Kurt Warner movie, right? That's not an actual movie. That's like a spoof movie.
That's Adam Sandler taking care of his friends with his Netflix
That
deal.
is wild. I was like, this is an SNL skit. Is Kevin James hosting SNL this weekend?
Well, let me ask you guys this question as these movies come out, because Kevin James is playing Sean Payton, the one bounty season. And I've noticed this a little bit when the people who aren't from sports come and tell a sports story. We lived the Kurt Warner story. I would say a lot of people listening to this right now grew greatly tired of their whole love story, even though it's a charming story, from grocery bag boy to league MVP, from grocery bag boy to atop the sport. And the story was family and faith, and they sold it to you every Sunday as he was a star in the league. And it was beautiful after school special stuff. But are they trying to give us syrupy sports stuff that feels good during the pandemic by just sort of after school specialing some of this stuff so that we feel a little bit better about our movies? Like we need some uplifting. Like Kurt Warner's story is indisputably uplifting.
I think this movie was probably greenlit from the moment he won that Super Bowl, right? But I think I have read articles that there is a sincere Ted Lasso effect, that people saw how well that played during times like these, and people are gravitating towards positive messaging.
They want feel good. They want laughter.
More feel good.
This is a beautiful story. Love story.
great story.
He always behaved like a pillar of...
Throwing an American in there is rather gratuitous.
Everyone loved him as a man of public faith, right?
I would say, as a man of public faith and as just a pure sports story, like the underdog out of the league, working in a supermarket. Like, yeah.
You can kind of tell where they're going at with their marketing strategy, who they're trying to drum out there. But football fans should be into it. I'm a football fan. I remember it as it was happening. I certainly want to see it. And from the trailer, it doesn't seem like they're going to do a totally embarrassing job in terms of replicating
the audience
NFL
loves
aspects.
it. Tony was just
the football scenes look dreadful. Don't
the
they?
lighting's weird, but the lighting inside the dome, the Edward Jones Dome in St. Louis was pretty terrible.
Am I missing something? Wasn't he suspended because of Bountygate? How are they gonna laugh that one off? Like I feel like the very premise is already something controversial.
Oh, for the Sean Payton movie we were talking about.
Yes, I'm sorry. I moved backwards now to Sean Payton.
Well,
not a feel good is what you're saying.
No, but we'll make fun of that one in a second because I think that is supposed to be also a feel good. Kevin James as Sean Payton, coaching high school kids because he's been suspended from the league. And Adam Sandler is made Kevin James, Sean Payton. That's one story. We'll get to that in a second. I'm talking about something that's being more universally celebrated. That one's going to be easy to mock. American Underdog, though, might hit the notes the right way because Tony was just showing on Rotten Tomatoes, this is getting over 90 critics and audience. And people might, if you want to feel good, the Kurt Warner story always made people feel good during football. For 20 years, his wife was in the stand. She'd always be in the front row. Like it was every Sunday was television. The American hero who used to be on a grocery aisle. Look at him. That's the greatest show on turf. And there by his side, a man of faith and family, is his wife, Brenda. So much so that people got sick of Brenda, like enough, like stop showing me that syrup every Sunday.
It's real life Rocky. I mean, is it not? It's kind of like that, right?
I mean, she believed in him in a way that made him a better man. It looked like a really strong union that tied together by faith and a woman's loving support. And it was just it was the same story that you were being sold with Steph Curry's ascent, except that marriage ended in divorce, but they kept showing you the family in the stands. His father's a sharpshooter. Look at this beautiful American family, a new America in basketball. Look at this family of such richness. That was 20 years ago. American. That's why it's American, Mike. This is going to be both an American underdog and American underdog. It's going to be something that celebrates like a bygone time. Make American underdogs great again.
I thought it was to get Christian conservatives. My bad.
I love a good feel-good movie, though, around the holidays.
Yeah, I want to see it. I was analyzing the trailer frame to frame, trying to see if I can find any errors in uniforms that weren't in that period. So far, so good.
Why?
Always a fun game. Now that's a fun game. I'm with Mike on that.
I hate movies that try to replicate and tell the story of like real life football and then embarrass themselves on the uniform front or just football continuity of the time. And so far, so good. But I'm gonna watch this movie with a scrutinous eye.
Why can't you guys just be happy watching things? Just watch things and enjoy them.
It's fun to make fun of them when they suck.
Yeah. I mean, you got to make sure they give Isaac Bruce the right number. I mean, they do. Yeah. Exactly.
Where do the jerseys have the shield? Does the ram horn start like 2 fingers above where it actually should on that helmet? Because it was very weird with the Greatest Show on Turf why that happened.
And so far, everything checks out.
So far, so good.
All right.
And if you find something, you just go, aha!
Yeah, got you.
You need it to be that kind of authentic. You can't have, how do you feel about commercials like Icy Hot commercials where Shaq is wearing a different uniform, or none of them wanted to pay the licensing fees, and so they
the
had
solid navy blue uniform.
Yeah, you just have to go with cheap, I'm not even going for anything that even resembles the uniform he used to play in. I can't afford it. I don't want to pay for it. It's expensive to be that authentic.
It dilutes the experience for me quite a bit, actually. I gave Ballers a shot on HBO because they just said, to hell with your licensing agreement. We're actually going to, when we talk about the Miami pro football team, we're going to use their logo and uniforms. They're the Miami Dolphins. Come at us. I enjoy that. It helps with the suspension of disbelief if I have real life aspects to grab to. I wouldn't watch American Underdog if he was playing for like the St. Louis Goats instead of the St. Louis Rams, and they just had a similar color scheme. Like these are real life experiences, and it's a nostalgic experience. So if you're tapping into nostalgia, authenticity to me is super important.
You still haven't watched Cocaine Cowboys, Billy Corbin 6-part documentary on the craziest drug Miami story you've ever heard, but you would buy on Hollywoodization of the Kurt Warner story, which you lived. It's a story you were old enough. You've grown up as
I was in middle school.
Well, you've grown up as an adult to look back on whatever your quaint notions of sports used to be as an adult, as you see the business of it now and the cynicism. This, at the height of sports, was the syrupiest story we had. It was a love story.
Relax on the Billy Corbin thing. I still haven't seen Moonlight.
I'm just saying that I'm surprised that you want to go to that. This is something you're talking about. Like, I want to see this. It comes out now. It comes out today.
It's a feel good during the holidays.
Yeah, I want to tap into the nostalgia. For me, that's big because obviously, I've always loved sports, and the NFL, it harkens back to a time for me. That's why, the authenticity is important. You got to nail that with me. But also, I gravitated to Ted Lasso with reason, too. I think a lot of the cliches that people espouse about Ted Lasso connect with me. I wanted something positive. And I think all that happens here with this film. So we'll see.
Having it be authentic is very important to a movie like this. You would agree, right? Like Dick Vermeil has to look like Dick Vermeil. Like in Miracle, it has to look like Herb Brooks. He has to talk like Herb Brooks. He has to act like Herb Brooks. Jim Craig needs to look like Jim Craig. He needs to be draped in the American flag. Eruzione needs to look like Eruzione, speak like Eruzione.
I got it.
You get it?
Yeah, I got it.
It's very important. Otherwise, the movie just does not work, man.
I feel like all you were doing there is you just wanted to take a stroll through the 81 hockey team. Like, I don't, you just start.
Hey, Kenny Morrow has to look like Kenny Morrow before he goes to the Islanders, and he did.
All right. I've got it, Stugotz.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got
Jim Craig's dad, I mean.
Yes. Yeah. If you have anything else, go ahead and get rid of it all. Go ahead and
1980, that's a fine.
Spill the whole thing. Go ahead. Anything else? Nothing else? You're out of material?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. That's all you've got. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I've learned a few names.
Okay. I wanted to just make sure that you got off all your shots there.
That speech before the third period has to be spot on. Mm-hmm. When they recreate those guys skating laps in practice, again.
Okay, so I ask you then, Kevin James is Sean Payton. Does it fit that standard?
Hell no.
We'll see.
You've seen the photos, though. You think that Kevin James is summoning the thespian spirit of Jeremy Strong?
You got to nail the casting with stuff like this because you're trying to bring people from sports, and it's just you're not getting anywhere with Kevin James as Sean Payton.
No.
I have to suspend too much disbelief. American Underdog, I'm still a little skeptical about the casting. For me, Greg Kinnear should always be Dick Vermeil. They nailed it with Invincible. Dennis Quaid is Dick Vermeil. I got to see what he's got.
Right. Such a great point.
Well, but isn't Kurt Warner in the football scenes going to look like Kurt Warner and not like Willem Dafoe in the as the Green Goblin? Like, isn't Kurt Warner still capable of dropping back? Doesn't he look the same? Where you'll be able to recreate the football scenes because Kurt Warner is going to be the one recreating them. Didn't he want to be the stunt double?
Is that the case with American Underdog, that Kurt Warner's doing some of the football scenes instead of Zachary Levi?
I read something about him wanting to be in the stunts. I don't know if he accepted it or if the studio accepted it, but the first flash I saw of the trailer, I'm like, that looks and feels like Kurt Warner in a uniform. Is that the starting?
The trailer gave me everything that I needed to see in order to entice me to come over. If you're putting this trailer out, I need to see him stocking a grocery store shelf. That's a must.
Yeah.
That needs to be the opening shot.
Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
He is right. He is.
You're basically asking for a documentary, though.
I would have loved to have seen a documentary on this, but if you're gonna go out and make a dramatic recreation, I need authenticity.
But
I need the grocery store being stocked, and I need to know what Brenda Warner's hair looks like.
It's going to be spiked.
Important.
It's going to be spiked.
It's 1A and 2A.
Okay, but did they show it in the trailer? Was her hair spiked and was her hair short in the trailer? Because I'm telling you,
This is important.
she was a polarizing figure in America because another thing that was happening at the time is that they were vocal God squatters. They were using their platform to really, the both of them, preach faith. And if you believe, you could go from grocery store to MVP
And what
of the league.
affirmation for their faith, that entire experience. So the movie studio, from their marketing strategy, I think understands how to do this one. And they're playing up to it.
And you're saying, because I think there's a
Let's
degree
just say
of,
Brian Urlacher said that's the greatest movie I've ever seen.
but this is the reason that I think there's a degree of difficulty in doing this. I think you can be too syrupy. I think there's a danger. I think it's hard to recreate. This story was so good as we lived it. Like, it just felt good as you were watching. It was an inspiration. He was an inspiration, Stugotz. There was no way that he was going to get his chance at that position in that league. Wasn't he the third string quarterback? Their skill guys were so good.
Well, they got Trent Green, right? And he got hurt.
I thought two quarterbacks got hurt, and he ends up becoming MVP of the league. And that's also where Belichick's legend started, right there. And he beat that team. He beat Kurt Warner. That's the best offense any of us had ever seen at that point. It's the golden age of the revolution of offense in that sport was led by Kurt Warner.
Greatest show on turf.
You said that lazily.
Can we make fun of the bad movie now?
That's all I had.
You said that lazily.
Let's talk about, because you do have to, we're cynical nowadays. Ted Lasso navigated this, being uplifting without being overly cheesy and getting people to not shit on it. The Sean Payton movie that Netflix is trotting out is starting in a bit of a hole already, just from the trailer alone.
You're not getting me there with Kevin James. I mean, you're not.
I don't think people recognize what the Ted Lasso formula is. Like, you watch that show, there's a ton of like dirty jokes and sex jokes and curse words. I don't think you're getting any of that in the Kurt Warner movie.
And Bill Lawrence is, what's funny about that movie is he's barbed wire, man. Like, that dude's not covered in syrup. It was almost accidentally syrupy. I'm not saying that he can't do that, but the creator of that show is covered in barbed wire. Like, his humor is sharp and dirty. I don't even know if necessarily, is it possible that this is so? That he was going for that kind of uplifting?
Well, I mean, Scrubs, which is his most famous show, has a ton of syrup in it. Like, I cried multiple times watching the show Scrubs.
Loser.
What?
You cry?
He leaks.
He leaks.
Cried multiple times.
Put it on the poll. Put it on the
Cried
poll,
multiple
Billy.
times
At
watching
LeBatard
Scrubs.
Show, does winning him
Cry or leak?
Cry or leak?
We didn't even get to the part of the trailer for Home Team that offended me.
Offended?
Did you watch it, Dan, at all?
I saw just sort of Kevin James stomping
You've
around
seen
on
of
the
it.
sideline. I was not paying any attention. I saw of it, yes.
Okay, if you watched it, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. So there's a scene where Kevin
Sounded like
James,
me.
as Sean Payton, is in his office, and this woman walks in a Saints polo, so presumably like his assistant or someone that works in the front office, and she goes, excuse me, Roger, Mr. Roger Goodell is on the phone, and he's like, Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, and she's like, yeah, and like it cuts away, and I'm like, this.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Why is the woman who works in the front office of an NFL team not aware of the name of the commissioner of the NFL? Why are we still doing like, aha, dumb woman doesn't know sports? And maybe that's not even what her character is, but then why is this the clip in the trailer? And what person on the planet that works in an NFL office doesn't know who Roger Goodell is? And also, if Roger Goodell's calling you, he's going to say, this is Commissioner Goodell. He's not going to mispronounce his own last name. What is that?
Maybe it was
How does
his
this happen?
assistant. Maybe his assistant doesn't know his name either, and she, said.
Yeah, because she's also dumb, because she's
Right,
just a
right,
dumb
right.
woman assistant. Yeah, maybe that's it. I was literally offended. I feel
Okay,
like,
this has gone
call
off
me
the
a
rails.
snowflake.
No, this has
You
gone
can
off
drink
the-
my liberal.
No,
You can
but-
drink my liberal tears. I don't
No,
care. I was
it's-
offended.
It's just, here's the thing, okay? Can I watch Adam Sandler and Kevin James be bad at a recreation of Sean Payton? Can I watch it without having that in the trailer? Without
having to think.
Without
about-
having to think. Thank you, Mike. That's what I meant to say. Just the idea of.
Can we just do awkward exposition without having it be scrutinized, please?
But she's right that okay, let's make the secretary or the
What
assistant.
side are you guys on?
I'm on Jess's
Yeah,
side.
I'm
If
trying to
it's-
confuse
I am
Yeah.
I'm on,
too.
I'm
Yeah,
on
I am
Jess's
too, yeah.
side. That's the right side.
This is the correct.
Half of your names are on my shit list. I'm not sure if I
I'm
should
with
finish
Jess.
writing it or not.
No, of course she's on the right side. What I am saying is that Adam Sandler and Kevin James, if you're tuning into that movie where they're recreating Sean Payton for anything in the way of nuanced celebration of gender disparity, where comedy meet. I mean, I just saw the other day, I'm not kidding you, a Grown Ups 2 where Shaq was in a pool and the water turned blue because he was urinating for some reason. And
That's an urban legend.
no, and also, I think the movie ended, Grown Ups 2 ended, and it was just person after person that Adam Sandler knows who's a friend of Adam Sandler. It just ended with me walking past the caption that called something a fart burp or a burp fart.
A bart.
Something combining the two
burp.
words. I'm just saying she's right, but I don't want to think about those
But-
things with Adam Sandler, Kevin James recreating.
It
Sean
tells me
Payton.
exactly what I need to know about this movie. It's not for me. I'm not going to watch it. You just alienated Jessica Smetana. I hope you're happy.
Well, it's on Netflix, so you can review it, I guess. But how do you make something family friendly surrounding Bounty Gate? It's supposed to be like all feel good. What are we gonna have? Nick Swartzen just saying we got to cut off the head of the snake and move on? Like,
Gather around, kids.
Nick Swartzen is Greg Williams. We gotta cut off the head of the snake. I will pay you money to take
Wait a
out
minute.
with.
He's not really Greg Williams. is
No,
he?
but it's a Sandler movie.
Oh my
so that's
God,
what I
that would be
imagine.
fantastic.
I
I would be
imagine.
all in if he was.
I mean,
Greg
Adam
Williams.
Sandler's wife is playing Sean Payton's wife. Kevin James is playing Sean Payton.
I'm watching
like-
Grown Ups too, and I'm like, is that Buscemi?
I have
Rob
David.
Schneider.
I have David Spade as Greg Williams.
Huh.
Didn't Sandler's deal with Netflix help elevate Netflix? Like, wasn't he the first creator who just signed on, or one of the first to sign on? I'll make a bunch of dumb stuff for you, and my friends will vacation in whatever city, and I'll keep making Netflix things for you.
He's Marcus Colston.
No, Stugotz, I fed you a line of.
What was the line you fed him? Let's go ahead and do
'Cause-
what Stugotz
Because
just did.
Stugotz wanted to make the joke that Chris Rock is playing Roger Goodell, and I just fed him, no, he's Marcus Coulson. And then you had a total non sequitur. He's Marcus Coulson.
I
That's
gotta
when
be hon-
Stugotz is.
I
He's
gotta
doing
be
the rare
honest.
thing where he's not listening to two different conversations.
I wasn't listening to any of it. I was looking something up. I got to be honest. I mean,
So that's where.
What were
Marcus
you
Coulson-
looking up?
Yeah.
I was looking up something on ESPN.com.
What was it?
What were
The
you
NBA standings.
Why?
I don't believe you.
Why? Just while
That's a
Relative
lie.
to the discussion that
let's,
we're
while
having.
we're working.
Who's in first
I don't
place?
know. I don't know. The Nets are first in the East. The Bucks are coming. I mean,
But what was happening? Why were you so distracted?
I have to make a pickup for my fantasy basketball league.
So in all of this, you thought he's Marcus Colson.
I thought I could buy some time. You guys were talking. You were rolling. I didn't think you would bring it back to me. The Chris Rock joke fell flat. I didn't know you were going to bring it back, and then you did, and I just blurted out Colson.
Your joke wasn't good enough. We were clearly workshopping, and you just go to air with he's Marcus Colson.
But in the middle of the workshop, Mike, I got distracted by an NBA fantasy pickup. I mean, I'm sorry.
You're not sorry, but
I am sorry.
But you're not, and you're going to keep trying to just sort of bulldoze and talk your way through this because this is one of those rare instances when the shame is genuine. He was not doing the show with us. He just simply lazily repeated something with no context whatsoever. Like
Mike should have said the whole thing.
Mike,
I mean,
would you please just let me get through this? Because this is when the shame is real, this is what he does. He just spews kitty litter at me and just tries to defend himself. We were working and you were not listening to our show. You weren't listening to me. You weren't listening to Mike. And you simply repeated like Ron Burgundy at the height of total laziness, not just trusting Mike implicitly. And now you look at your phone because you're distracted by what's happening here right now. Stugotz, you've been cornered.
Yeah.
You weren't working right there. You were doing your fantasy league while we're doing the show. It wasn't a joke. It's not a put on. You were while we're on air, you were tending to fantasy league matters, not as a joke, as very much you.
I mean, but 45 minutes of Kurt Warner and Sean Payton and the movies and who's playing who.
You were bored by the show.
Yeah, listen, I got a little bored about 32 minutes into it, and I went to my NBA fantasy league.
We're trying to weave a thread.
It's pickup day, though.
Where we could do like 2009 New Orleans Saints and Adam Sandler Friends. Like it would have been a layered joke that we do.
It would have been fun for about 10 minutes. We would have enjoyed it.
I had Nick Swartzen as Greg Williams. That was our gambit.
What was the pick you're looking at? I want to just know what kind of minutia you decided to derail the show with. Explain to me what you were trying to do for your fantasy team.
Well, I have Kyrie Irving on my fantasy team. I drafted him. I got him in the 10th round. Great value. And I thought he'd be back. And so I was getting ready to play him, and apparently he's not playing now, Dan, because he landed on the COVID-19 list, and Harden's out and Durant's out now, and so I'm trying to pick up the Nets point guard. I just don't know who the Nets point guard is.
I thought Chris Rock as Goodell was a winner.
Yeah.
I had Dan Patrick as Joe Vitt. we were going to get there.
We could have done that for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, Dan Patrick. Again.
DP.
Yeah.
Really unfair that the season comes to that, but whatever.
What a kick.
No, that we're playing this mutated thing with like 22 players on it. We actually,
but they all are.
You know,
like
by
most teams are playing that.
You know, by delaying the game to Monday, you know what our net gain was by doing that? One. That was the net gain. One more player coming off of the COVID list than went on, and that one player tore his Achilles. So,
but that delay, you were hoping that you would get Baker or Case Keenum back.
Yeah, that's what everybody was hoping.
Right.
Stefanski,
but your quarterback
Jarvis,
but Mullins did enough. Like
he did.
The whole thing's frustrating.
He did. Well, I get frustrated watching them because they're so turnover averse to a huge fault. Do you remember what Baker Mayfield was his rookie year? He was a guy that set the rookie passing touchdown record because he was just bombs away. Yeah, he'll turn it over, but whatever. This is electric. It's down the field vertical. And now we're the offense that on a 3rd and 6 will draw up a 4-yard play.
But for people who didn't see what happened yesterday, because these seasons, for people who care about them and make these emotional commitments, like Mike Ryan is sitting here during a pandemic. This sport is on its knees sort of crawling to the end of where the money is. And there's some feel good here with this team that went winning one game over 2 seasons. It's been laughed at for a long time. And that team of great expectations in a brutal division that's hamburger meat, in a brutal conference where 10 teams are them. 10 teams are broken, and the Raiders, they're playing the Raiders. Raiders desperate enough trying to save this season from hell. And they're on their 3rd string quarterback because Baker, who they don't know about, is 7 different parts broken on him, and Case Keenum is in the protocol, and now we're going with Nick Mullins, and it's not just at the end of the game wheezing and Myles Garrett in and out of the injury tent. At the end of the game, down 13-7. Baker Mayfield broken God knows where, tweeting Nick effing Mullins because in a spot the Browns lose every time, down 13-7 over the last, 2 decades? 1st and 20 is a disaster for this team. Goal line, small field, offense constipated. Stefanski's genius isn't helping you here with third string quarterback. 1st and 20. You get it to 4th.
Well, it's also literally not helping you because he's also out with COVID.
That's right. That's also true. Nothing's helping you. You get it to 4th and 5. You grind and whittle it to 4th and 5, 4th and manageable. And now Mullins has to scramble all over the place. He finds a guy in the end zone. Now you're up 14-13. I expected the kicker to miss the extra point, honestly.
Yeah, me too. He's been terrible lately. It was last night was a cool experience because for all the Browns suffering, they don't really get the cool turnaround underdog vibes where America pulls for them. And that's self-inflicted, right? They did a lot of talking, the Freddie Kitchens here. People have Baker fatigue.
Oh,
He's
but
not
there's no
good
one to
enough.
hate right now. Baker's not playing. Odell's gone. Who are you going to hate? You can't
Yeah,
even hate
but-
Jarvis Landry.
But right. But last night, everyone was gathered around this game, which was a pretty poor game.
Oh, shitty football
Yeah.
all around last night.
But it was
Good ending,
It
though.
was dramatic. It had a good ending, and for once, everyone was like, "All right, let's go Browns outside of the division rivals. This is a pretty cool story." Nick Mullins, it's that American underdog type of thing that they're tapping into, and Browns still going Brown. You know, it's just a huge bummer. And now you have to save your season against
The Packers.
Aaron Rodgers,
Yes.
who's going to set the passing touchdown record for the Packers at home.
I love you saying hitting a guy in the end zone.
Oh, it's just a
Harrison
guy.
Bryant was his name. His name should be a guy.
I mean, they are just a bunch of broken pieces out there. It's not just that, though. So I give you the play you make. The play the Browns don't make. Third string quarterback, 4th and 5, scramble around. You've been doing nothing but throwing 4-yard passes. I'm telling you, at 1st and 20, that game seemed lost. Like 1st and 20, they're not going to be able to do this 4 yards at a time. They get it to manageable. They take the lead. It's not just that. Then you get the interception you need from Derek Carr.
Yep, next drive.
And now all you need, you're already in field goal range. You just need to milk the clock. There it is. There's the 4 seed right there. You're up 14-13. You have the ball in scoring position. There's not enough time for Derek Carr. There really isn't. If you kick this field goal, the game's over. Because Derek Carr, this is not this way this game has worked. He's not going to score a touchdown to beat you when he's down 4. All you got to do is
All we needed is a first down.
all you need is Nick Chubb on, what is it, third
and 3, and I think any Browns fan probably would have taken that entering the season. I know it's a controversial call right now. I think if you apply the context of everything that was happening along that offensive line, maybe you're like, let's draw something up a little bit more creative, but you have to take into
Oh, he's the best you've got.
There was no game, but Mike, did you were you okay with them punting, or did you like your field goal kicker's not good?
No, I wanted them to go. I wanted them to go for it because I know Derek Carr to be exceptional in that situation.
On 4th and 3, you said.
No, exceptional in comeback situations with a little. He has a lot of. Yeah, he makes a lot of big time throws, as we've learned today on today's show. They have a good kicker. I thought Derek Carr would do exactly what he did, get them in position to have a shot at winning. So when they were short on 3rd and 3 and the line got totally nuked on that, I was still of the school of thought, go for it, because Derek Carr is going to do his job.
So the Browns successfully ice Carlson because he makes the field goal, and it's one of those ones where you don't hear about the timeout until after the field goal goes in. I want you to, like, Mike, are you there feeling like, all right, we got another chance?
I knew he was making it. I knew he was making it. Carlson, he had like one very bad game in his career.
Oh, no, and after you in the first half, right? You in the first half of that game, you made the field goal on the timeout and then missed the field goal to end the half.
Right.
So
Chase McLaughlin had that same situation work against us. So I knew from the very jump, like the Michael Jordan of knowing when the Browns are going to lose a game.
but this one last
I've had
night,
a lot of practice.
no, but honest to God, Stugotz, like he's
You know what it looks like.
Stugotz, he's putting on a brave face, okay? Because Mike Ryan has been loud, obnoxious, swaggering Browns fan. He's annoyed an awful lot of people. This one hurts. I feel like he's wearing camouflage right now. That loss last night felt like kicking you in the penis.
Yeah, because it wasn't so much the loss, because I've seen plenty of painful losses. It's what the loss represents. It's falling from 4th to 12th. It's a huge blow to the playoff chase, but also this season has been shit. It hasn't been fair from the jump with all the injuries. It doesn't feel like a fair fight. And I know that's a loser's lament, right? Pointing to injuries and campaigns against the Browns, but I lost a galvanizing win that you could point to and just say with all my Browns friends, remember the Nick Mullins game. And it just would have been such a cool.
That's where you are generationally. So cool. Remember the Nick Mullins games the same way that you remember the
Thad
playoff
Lewis game.
Well, no, you also remember, I'm forgetting the quarterback
Kelly
now.
Holcomb.
The
Kelly
Holcomb game. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah, but
Appreciate
usually
the help.
Yeah.
20 years we have the games, 40 years if you want to go to Ernest Biner and stuff, but you have the games that involve just one name.
Yeah, so the Kelly Holcomb game lives in infamy. It was a historic game from a passing perspective at the time, but usually when
was
you say...
Was it a loss? A 500-yard loss?
Yeah.
A 500?
Yes.
He threw for 500 yards in a
Andre
loss.
King couldn't get out of bounds. He slipped on the snow, and Chris Fumatama'afala put the Steelers ahead. Oh, God.
Very impressive.
That's where you've been. To hell and
You
back.
I remember
pronouncing
that. I remember
that
that game
name,
like yesterday.
Last night hurts like that, does it not?
No, that's a playoff loss to the Steelers. That and my team had gone away for a couple of years. So no, last night hurts because I didn't get the galvanizing feel good Ted Lasso
Look at
win.
Jessica.
So
Look
happy.
at Jessica. You're mean with your Steeler. You're
Raiders. Dan, you know who wasn't on the Browns bandwagon before the season starts? Even though Browns fans, you guys were winners of the offseason. You were summer camp winners. Everyone was high on the Browns going into the season. You know who thought, that's all smoke and mirrors? Steelers fans. Because you know what happens when you're a Steelers fan? You know a couple things. You know the Browns are going to Browns and the Bengals are going to bungle. And the Bengals haven't bungled yet. We still got the playoffs. But the Browns, they have been the Browns.
Wow, she pulls out the knife.
I mean, the Browns weren't even the Browns. There were so many players that
but she's hitting you in a cruel spot, Mike. She is enjoying your
she's
tears.
earned it over the last 20 years, even if she wants to forget that her quarterback was crying on the sidelines last year in an embarrassing home playoff defeat.
You can have your playoff win. I'll take my 6 Super Bowl wins, Mike.
She's got you, Mike.
No, she does.
She's got all of us.
No,
Mike.
she has a banter advantage.
Yeah.
And last night was no one wants
A
to hear
banter
this.
or
I'm
a
not gonna-
banner? A banter or a
She's
banner?
got both. I don't. Yeah. Pre-merger banners don't count.
You pulled out a shiv now, though. You are enjoying his suffering. That was a gut punch last night. It's just unbelievable that the Browns are right there on doing something that is inspirational, that in this wrecked season could still feel positive, and it just hurts so much to come that close and blow it.
I let Mike have his wins during the season. I let you gloat. I let you have see you in January. But you know what?
That was also a loss.
Not anymore. I let you gloat about losing to the Chiefs back in September. Not anymore, Mike. The Browns, they are who we thought they were.
They're not who I thought they were. I thought they would be a lot better, and
You didn't think they'd be Nick Mullins?
I didn't think that they were Nick Mullins or.
Can I ask you
Sheldon
guys a
Day
question though? Because I was thinking about this last
Jay
night.
Stewart.
Sheldon's a good player, Mike.
I'll take your word for it. There were so many guys last night that I was meeting for the first time, and
He went to Notre Dame.
I'm a big Browns fan,
But
I was like, who the are these?
Okay,
guys?
but this is what I want to ask you. As she says, the analysis is the Browns are going to Brown. Honest to God, Stugotz, in however it is that you measure this diluted, broken form of the Browns, if it comes down to a kicker not making a kick, is the team actually any different by measurement if he makes that kick? Like, one difference is a 4 seed, the other is a 12 seed. And what I'm telling you is it's one random play is the measurement of can you kick better than them in this situation?
But you got to win in all three phases, Stan.
Yeah.
There's a
No,
whole third phase.
But you understand what I'm saying.
Complimentary
Keep
football.
discounting special teams,
Do you-
man.
so
all
you're not-
22. Pro
Okay.
Football
Game of
Focus.
inches.
Okay, thank you.
PFF.
Okay,
I mean, they're
fine.
8 and 6
All
instead
right.
of 7 and
Okay,
7.
you guys
Big
all
time
win.
throws.
Okay, fair enough.
Skycam.
Andrew runs.
Okay, they're not any different as a team, but
Kay
a kicker
Adams.
made a kick. Okay, okay, you guys win. They threw to a guy.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
but-
makes a kick. They're, I mean, they're a
said-
4 seed.
You said it yourself. There are 10 teams that are 8 and 6 and 7 and 7.
Right.
I look at those teams. The Ravens are there at 8-6 because of Justin Tucker, quite literally because he set a record with one field goal. The Steel Boswell is an incredible kicker for Pittsburgh.
Dolphins have a good kicker.
They're not in that situation without their kicker. Dan Carlson has won games for the Las Vegas Raiders in Dallas and again last night. Look at the Browns. They are very much at their record because they don't have the good kicker. So when you have parity and all those teams there, a third phase is one hell of a tiebreaker.
It's just funny, though, that the difference between the Chargers and the Chiefs in that game is, among other things, that Brandon Staley doesn't and shouldn't trust his kicker. Doesn't trust.
He trusts his quarterback,
will also go for it on fourth down, but that's what he should, though. To me, the measurements on this stuff, we are cutting the onion so thinly on some of this stuff. I don't believe the Browns are actually any better or worse just because they miss a field goal last night. You know what I mean? Whatever my assessment is of that team is the same whether that kick goes in or not.
Right.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
What is that little doll? What is that, Chris?
My daughter's Belle.
Belle. She's one of my favorites.
Me too. It makes me think of her when she's not here.
Ooh, Ron, top 5 Disney princesses. Go.
First one's Pocahontas for me. I don't know why, but I just found her to be so.
She loves nature.
Sexy.
That's why.
And then Jasmine.
Whoa.
Number 4.
I thought we were going with inspiring.
Number 4.
Well, okay. I was going 1 to 5.
Okay, you can't do it that way. You got to do it the other way.
Okay,
You've ruined it.
1, 4, 2, 3, 5.
You've ruined it now. It's all ruined.
Well, you see, I can't help it, but he asked me my favorite.
4
I like the brunette, tan skin.
Number 5. Number 5.
5 would be Snow White.
Number 4.
Number 4 would be Sleeping Beauty.
Number 3.
Belle.
Number 2.
Jasmine.
And now the whole thing is ruined with the anticlimax of number 1.
Pocahontas.
No way.
There it is. Stugotz wasn't listening. He was updating his fantasy team. Wants to see if Patty Mills should be on it instead of.
Is that who's starting now?
Doing his job. Let's talk about a couple of things here, Ron. But I am ashamed. Of us at Meadowlark Media because 2 weeks ago you asked me to put together something with a photograph that you have taken, and I wanted to do that for the holidays, and I am just now learning by text that we have not done whatever it is that we were supposed to do on behalf of the endowment.
You're not supposed to do anything. And it's not a photograph. It's actually a painting that was done as part of Art Basel. This painter came down from North Carolina, who's just an incredible painter. He has a gallery up there. His name is Chris Evans. And he painted this tiger live with these incredible colors. The way to best describe it for me is like, it's a Leroy Neiman picture like of a tiger with all these colors, except for the colors you might find on a tiger. And I thought when he was doing it, I go, this is going to be weird. And man, when he finished it, it really is quite dramatic. And, he's going to donate a big portion of the sale of that painting to the endowment. So I thought that was really nice. So we put it up on eBay like we did with that photograph that I took. And I'm hoping that there's some LeBatard listener out there that wants a really neat original painting. I could send all the live pictures of him painting it, actually a time-lapse video of him painting it and stuff, kind of make it a total package. Go and bid. I think the bidding starts at $1,500, which really for this painting, when I saw the stuff that was going on at Art Basel, my God, they were charging like $25,000 for a white sheet with a black dot in the corner. I'm like, what the heck is that?
All right, so we're going to put that at worldofsuey.com, and you can take a look at that. You can decide. Again, we're raising money for Ron's substantive endowment over the holidays. Something else that we will be doing this week is we will be for Ron McGill's endowment. Anybody who wants to hear the roast that we did with Ron McGill and Billy Corbin, Jason Jackson, we will have that available for you as well. I believe tomorrow we're doing something with that.
Yes.
So worldofsuey.com is where you go if you want to help Ron's endowment over there. And also we will have more information coming up for you on what it is that we're doing with that roast later. But I wanted to talk to you about what's going on right now at the zoo, Ron, because you were talking about lights and everything else. I do imagine you as someone who is very good at climbing a ladder. You've been doing this for how long? Do you go very ornate? Do you do inflatable things in the front yard? Because the zoo is spectacular this time of year. The lights.
The zoo is spectacular. Now, if you're talking about my personal home, I don't do inflatables. Inflatables to me are almost like sacrilege. You go around my neighborhood, the people have inflatables. You know, as soon as it's a little windy or they deflate, it looks like there's been a drive-by. You see Santa's like been shot. Everybody's down. The reindeer on their side. They list to the side. They just
call it
look
sleeping,
good.
Ron. We call it sleeping with
Oh,
my
are
daughter.
you an inflatable guy, Chris?
At night, the snowman during the day, the snowman goes to bed. And at night, we wake him up so he can enjoy the night. I mean, come on.
I hate to say it. I'm just
You have
not
him being shot. You have these things being shot.
Yeah, Ron,
because it
come
looks
on.
like a drive-by. It does. I say it looks like a drive-by. They're all down on their sides and look like all massacred. It just looks terrible to me. I don't know why. So I'm not a big inflatables guy. Having said that, I've got the beautiful, the big bamboo reindeer with the sleigh and the gold sparkles on it and the lights going through it all. And, I've got we've got the big 6-foot wreath on the face of the front of the house with all the beautiful lights on it. I mean, that wreath is an incredible wreath. I got it years ago. I've got almost like the life-size Santa, but not those scary Santas, not the Santa. This is on the inside of the house now. Not those Santas that look like something out of a nightmare, but it's like he's got the really beautiful silk beard and every toy is really wrapped and the dolls are really made out of porcelain and he's got real felt and beautiful leather belt and that beautiful, it's really gorgeous stuff. It's heirloom stuff. I've got all the beautiful, the snow globes. The gorgeous ones that have the little fans on them. So the snow is always blowing through with lights and they're big and they're all hand carved and gorgeous. The kind of stuff that has been passed down from like my grandparents. So it really is pretty. We got the garland over all the windows in the house. The Christmas tree goes all the way to the ceiling and it's filled with everything. Every ornament on our tree represents something. It's not like something you bought in a store. It represents a memory or something, a trip that we took. Like one of my favorite ornaments is like I got the Star Trek ornament, the original Star Trek, where they're in the transporter, and
You bought that at a store.
What'd you say? I bought it at a store, but it's a memory. It's a memory because Star Trek was my favorite show growing up as a kid. That science fiction part was great. We've got ornaments from around the world where we've traveled. Everything has a memory to it. So it's not like, oh, that looks pretty. It's not one of those like Macy's types things. Oh, it's pretty. Let's match the decor of the house and put it up. No, we don't do that.
Ron, fascinating story out of India where a group of monkeys have gone on a killing spree, dropping upwards of 250 puppies from very high heights.
Horrifying.
From the top of trees. And one of the interesting details in this story is that there's a motive for the monkeys. Apparently, one dog killed an infant monkey, and now these monkeys are killing puppies for revenge.
Well, okay. You say it's a revenge right away because that's the way you're looking at it. But what they're doing is they're trying to prevent one of these puppies going up to be another dog that's going to eat more of the monkeys. They've looked at this dog now as a fatal threat to their own lives. And their instinct is telling them we have to remove that threat in any opportunity possible. So I'm not going to say, like, I know what you guys are thinking. They're taking the puppies and going, here, this is your kid, right? How do you like this? Look at your kid's dead now. No, that's not what they're doing. They're eliminating the puppy from becoming an adult dog that will eventually be another predator.
They are throwing puppies from trees, Ron. The story is totally horrifying. Puppies.
It's a horrifying. I agree with you, Dan. I agree with you. But they're not doing it as revenge. They're doing it as preventative. It's a preventative measure for them. That's the only way they know how to kill the puppies. They know if they throw them from the trees, the fall's going to kill them, right? They'll throw them from buildings, the fall's going to kill them. That's what they're doing to eliminate that threat. But they're not doing it like a revenge thing. Now, you know what? Maybe there are that level of intelligence where you have that kind of emotion where they're so angry. Yes, maybe it is a revenge thing in kind of an abstract way, but the foundation of that behavior is a preventative measure to prevent those puppies from becoming adult dogs that are going to attack their families in the future.
Is there anything that passes for vengeance in the animal kingdom? Vengeance.
It all has a root thought. People say, well, like when two male lions fight to the death over a female, it's like, oh my God. Or when male lions go into a pride and there's a bunch of cubs in that pride that are not theirs and they kill every one of those cubs, right? I've seen that happen. My wife was sobbing uncontrollably as she watched these two lions go in there and kill all these cubs. Horrible situation. So you say, why are they doing that? Well, there's a couple of reasons why they're doing that. They're not doing it out of vengeance because the father of that lion was somebody that they hated. No, they're doing it because, number one, they want to make sure that only their genes are passed on to the next generation. And also by killing all the cubs, they stop nursing. And when they stop nursing, the females start to cycle again. As long as females are being nursed or nursing an animal, they're not cycling. They will not breed, you see. But once they stop nursing, they cycle and can be bred again. So there's a double motive there. We want to prevent any gene other than ours going on to the next generation. And we want to make sure that we can plant our seed into those females as soon as possible by getting them to start cycling again.
Ron, do animals give each other gifts?
Yes, absolutely
Really?
they do.
Really?
Oh, no, absolutely they do.
Sorry,
and you'll
Chris.
find that in all kinds of birds, or, there's a bird called the bower bird that brings all these beautiful ornamental things. You think, okay, it's a bird in nature, right? So it's going to just bring pretty flowers and sticks and leaves and stuff. No, it looks for things like bottle caps, blue colored, pieces of tin or anything like that. Anything man-made that has bright colors, it brings it into the nest as a gift for the female to say, look at my nest. Look what this beautiful home I've made for you. Whereas the public might look at it and go, look, it looks like a trash heap. But to the female bowerbird, that's like, wow, that's spectacular. You see animals, primates are notorious for this. Well, they'll bring fruit. They'll bring some of the favorite things and share it with a female to say, this is how much I care about you. Will you now accept my love in a more physical way?
Ron, I've heard that when you put a sweater on a dog, it doesn't make them that much warmer because they lose heat through their feet or their paws. Is that true? Should you put little boots on your dog also?
You should certainly put little boots on your dog for a couple of reasons. If you're going into extreme cold or extreme heat, people don't realize if you walk on a 95-degree day and you're walking on asphalt with your feet, it'll burn your feet. Well, it'll also burn a dog's feet. So you need to keep that in mind. So yes, you can protect animals from getting too hot or too cold through their feet. The sweater does help somewhat, though. They don't perspire like we do. So they're not evaporating fluid from their skin like we do, but it does help contain heat a little bit. And more than that, sweaters a lot of times will give some dogs a sense of security. Like if you have these dogs that are afraid of thunder and things like that, you put on this thunder jacket because when they're wrapped up like that, it does give them a sense of security in many instances. Of course, there are exceptions to that. There are people going to be listening saying, oh, my dog hates that, and you should never do that. Every dog is an individual, but generally speaking, that happens. Yes, Chris?
I love the idea of a giraffe wearing a Christmas sweater. Which animal at the zoo? Have we dressed up
Me
any animals at
too.
the zoo?
No, we don't. We
Maybe
don't
a
dress
lion.
up animals at the zoo, guys.
Why?
Well, they're kind of wild animals, and that's
Yeah.
not the message that we want to send as far as,
But imagine a giraffe wearing an ugly sweater.
It is.
It'd
It
make
is
a-
nice.
it'd make a wonderful cartoon, Chris. A wonderful cartoon.
Yes, it is very nice of you, Chris. But also, you sort of desecrate what the man does for a living. These animals are not your props. They're not here.
Well, wait a
about a
minute.
scarf?
Wasn't also Chris the one who said, asked me if you could kill a giraffe with a steak knife by going
Yes,
underneath?
well,
Yeah, I
that's the
could
one
fuck
he
up a
would
giraffe.
kill.
I
That's the
could
one he
fuck up
would
a
kill.
giraffe.
He'd give it a sweater, and then he would turn
Yeah,
around
see,
and he would.
Remember Ron?
he
Remember
would
Ron?
stab it,
Yeah, Chris.
stab it with a steak knife from underneath. Yes.
What about Santa hats, Ron?
Yeah.
Okay, listen, guys. We don't do that in a public view. But if I would be lying to you if I
Hell
said
yeah.
we have
Oh, my
never done
God.
it
Scandalous.
behind the scenes.
You're kidding
just
me.
To feel a little bit of love.
This is unbelievable. This is to feel a little bit of what?
Now I'm imagining a holiday party for the animals. You
No,
let
but
them all
what we
out-
do-
you
we
let them
do-
all
we
out
do-
in one
Ugly
big
sweater
party.
party.
what we do, we do it with kind of like, the wacky barn animals, like the goats and the pigs, some of the
classic.
farm animals. We'll do that
Got
sometimes.
a big
We-
tub of eggnog that they all come
Mhm.
over.
Billy, I'm with you guys.
Who is the cutest?
Ron
Yeah.
McGill is having secret animal parties at the zoo, and he's dressing up some of the goats in stockings ridiculously and also immorally and unethically.
No, Dan. Like I said, every now and then we might put a Santa hat on a goat, but it's just we
Put
gotta
it-
Keep it
Put-
fresh. Got to keep it fresh.
Guillermo,
Reindeer antlers?
Guillermo, put it on the
Oh,
poll.
wow.
Put it on the poll, please, at
Nice.
LeBatard Show. Should Ron McGill be arrested for putting a reindeer hat on, no, a Santa hat,
Santa hat on a goat.
On a goat,
on a
yes.
goat. Should he be arrested for this? Chris, you were very disappointed in the middle of Stugotz asking a question. What happened there where you were sort of disgusted in the Zoom?
Stugotz asked if animals give gifts to each other around the holidays, and I had that exact same question in the holster.
Mhm.
So I panicked, but then I quickly pivoted to giraffes wearing a sweater. You saw how I did that, Dan?
Yes, I did.
In
You got-
radio
I gotta be on
language,
my
Dan.
feet here.
Right,
I gotta be quick.
Right.
I gotta be quick. Giraffes wearing sweaters. Boom.
Yeah, that was quick. He waved all of us off, and there were 3 questions asked in between.
It was
Yes,
a good,
Jessica.
Wait, what if you put like leg warmers on a giraffe? You know how they have long legs? You put like the little like 70s leg warmers on
Yeah.
it, like socks.
Or scarves.
Yeah,
A big scarf because it has a long neck.
Yeah, because you guys have
Like
seen
Mike
that
Glennon.
Thanks,
in
Maddie.
little kids' books. You see the giraffe with the long scarf on. I've seen that.
They
but
could
no,
get
we don't do-
cold.
No, we don't do that.
You ever kiss an animal under the mistletoe, Ron?
No, I haven't kissed an animal. I've kissed animals, but not under a mistletoe.
Maybe.
again, you could go to worldofsuey.com. You could click on the image or click on the link that the show will post on Twitter. Endangered Majesty. It's a tiger painting. And you don't know exactly how many or how much of the proceeds going to the endowment, because on the roast, Ron, 100% of the money is going to the endowment.
This is unbelievable. I'm still floored by this. Yeah, between you and Jax and all those guys, everybody that did that, and it was such a fun night. I am floored by that. Yes. I do know it's going to be at least 20%. It's not a whole lot, but it's at least 20%.
Okay, at least 20%. Can I badger the artist into making it more than that? Because I feel like I feel like it needs to be, if it's going to involve our listeners. And,
You're right.
And I need to
Badger
talk.
him.
Okay, I need to talk to the
And
artist
I hear
about
30%.
this. Well, it needs to be better than this, because if the listeners are going to do this for the holidays to support that, man, the listeners always come strong on this stuff, and it's going to do something ridiculous is going to happen here. And I don't, unless he makes it only 20%, then it's not enough, Ron. I need to negotiate with this artist.
Okay. His name's Chris Evans. It's I think it's Good Trip Inc. You can go to www.goodtripinc. Harass him. Make him do it more.
I'm sure our audience will be real nice and respectful with him.
Yeah. Oh God. Here we go.
Thank you.
You
Thank
said
you.
his name, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Happy holidays.
America.
Always.
All right, buddy. Happy
Oh.
holidays to all of you guys. Thank you for everything all year long. And Jessica, what a wonderful addition you have been to this show.
Thank you, Ron. No one ever says that about me around here.
I
You're the
wanted
only
you to
one.
know I really appreciate it. It gives a little balance to this.
What about
insanity.
Whittingham? What about
We appreciate
Whittingham's
you,
great
Ron.
too. No.
Can we just
But-
let me shine for a minute? Come on. Does it have to be about Woody all the time?
What
He got
about
his
Lewis?
moment today with big time
Geez,
throws.
I mean,
See you later.
All of
Ron.
you guys are great, but Jessica does bring some wonderful balance to the program that is
Thank you.
really appreciated.
See you later, Ron.
Take care, guys.
You've heard me say it before about this guy. He's got a mastery of his sport that very few journalists have over their sport. You could check out all his work, mixed martial arts related, in the places you go to the top of the food chain to get your analysis. And he has lent his name and his credibility and his talent and his wrestling personality to the Jake Paul spectacle that Chris Whittingham does not like very much. And Chris, we were celebrating yesterday the spectacle, and that this guy has really, really taken over a space here where he is winning at every turn, because, Ariel, and I don't know how you feel about this, and thank you for joining us, people who know the sport the way you know the sport know that Woodley is a washed guy who was never a striker, and yet Jake Paul has now twice beat him up in a way that sets up Jake Paul to be a legitimate pay-per-view boxing attraction. And so, did you hear what Whittingham had to say yesterday? Has it been relayed to you?
Well, first of all, Dan, are we just going to blow right through the stop sign? That is my second appearance on the program since independent Helwani was born. I took a quick look at the stats this morning as I was getting ready. I don't know why I haven't been asked back in the last 5 or so months, probably because it's still the #1 video on your little rinky-dink YouTube channel. Is it because I made everyone uncomfortable by blowing them out of the water, this MMA guy? It seems a little funny to me that I haven't been asked back. I'm still #1, and by all accounts, I will end the year #1. That's first off. Number two, I did listen to the interview yesterday, or the conversation with Chris and everyone. I thought everyone had really smart takes, nuanced takes, intelligent takes, except for one person, Chris Whittingham. And so here I am, willing and ready to defend the honor of the savior of combat sports, the problem child, the undefeated sensation, Jake Paul.
The savior. The
Oh my
savior of
God.
combat sports?
Oh my
The Lord and
God.
Savior.
Oh my God.
Ariel, you work covering a sport like the fact that you're describing it as needing saving from a sideshow when you care about good MMA, good fighting, big spectacle, big sport. You care about the fighters, and you want to promote a semi-pro boxer who's fighting tomato cans?
Well, I'm not promoting
For
anything.
spectacle?
I'm not the promoter on record. Okay, that was obviously a little tongue-in-cheek. I just don't understand why people get so hot and bothered by Jake Paul. Number one, I like when people say, oh, this is an indication that boxing is dead. No, this is actually an indication that boxing is alive and well and healthier than ever. The fact that a 24-year-old kid who can make money doing a hell of a lot of things, including MMA, chose boxing because that's the place where he can make millions upon millions of dollars is actually an indication that boxing is alive and well and very healthy. Also, let me just say that, this isn't Master P trying out for the Raptors circa 2004. This is a guy who is not taking anyone's spot. In fact, he's creating spots. Ask Amanda Serrano how she feels about Jake Paul, one of the best pound-for-pound boxers on the planet, who is now set up to fight Katie Taylor in the biggest fight in women's boxing history. She's a legitimate boxer. Ask someone like Liam Paro, who was on the undercard. Ask someone like Montana Love. Ask someone like Ivan Branchik. He is actually using his power and his leverage to give legitimate boxers an opportunity to shine brighter than they ever shined before. And so if you want to get caught up on the, Jake Paul, like you guys were saying yesterday, I think it was Mike or someone who was saying like, his jab isn't exactly, on point. No, the guy is training. He's putting in the work. He's obviously taking the process seriously. Now, all of a sudden, he's getting a lot of eyeballs, I don't see how this is bothering anyone, how this is hurting anyone, other than elevating the sport of boxing, which seems to be what your issue is. You're saying that it's hurting boxing, that it's hurting the combat sports game. It's not. It's actually bringing more eyeballs to it.
10-8 Helwani.
Whoa, that
Yes,
score.
sir.
and
That's not a 10-8.
That was a
That's a 10-9
10-9 at best. Come on, Stugotz.
I'm the judge.
There were no knockouts there, and we would
I
not.
haven't even put forth a rebuttal yet.
Not even in
Hey, it's
boxing.
creating jobs.
Not even boxing has judges as corrupt as you, Stugotz. You are most certainly not the judge.
Thank you. I appreciate the hometown cooking.
Let's have Whittingham's rebuttal, though, even though Stugotz has already declared the round 10-8.
I actually
round two.
I mostly agree with everything that Ariel just said. Like, it is an elevation of the sport. I also don't think that most people who are coming to those fights are really caring about the undercard. Most people who went to those fights were not exactly fired up for the undercard. It's about Jake Paul. But I agree.
I'm sorry, but I have to interrupt. I was there, man, and I've been to a lot of boxing events. That place was packed from the get-go, from the first bad fight on the undercard. And that's Tampa. That's not a boxing city. That's not a fighting town. That place was packed. I don't know if it came across on television, but Amanda Serrano got a massive pop when she came out. You know who Amanda Serrano is, right? She's number 3 pound for pound. She's the pride of Puerto Rico, the pride of Brooklyn, New York. And she is now set up to fight Katie Taylor, the undefeated Irish Olympic gold medalist. That place went nuts for Amanda Serrano. And so my point is, yes, of course they're coming there ultimately to buy tickets to watch Jake Paul. But now other people are starting to notice who these other great fighters are. And if he created cards that were just filled with TikTokers and YouTube, I would understand where you're coming from. I would say you're 100% right. This is a bit of a mockery of the sport. But it's not that. You didn't like the Darren Williams versus Frank Gore fight? Fine. But the rest of the card is just, regular boxers in regular boxing
That's the only
matches.
thing getting media coverage, though. The only thing getting media coverage is Frank Gore's face before getting punched and Jake Paul with the knockout of Tyron Woodley. Like, that's what is reaching our conversation. Like, we did not have a conversation about Amanda Serrano yesterday. The fight community probably
That's on you. That's on you. That's not on me or anyone else.
Isn't that exactly my point? My point is that the sideshow of this guy who decided to take up boxing 2 years ago, it has all of the oxygen in this sport because it's the thing that transcends outside of the fight game. The reason why we would not have come on the air on Monday if Amanda Serrano was the only thing that came of it. It was Jake Paul who takes the oxygen of this sport, and I think it does make a slight mockery of it because he only took this up 2 years ago. There have been people who have been in gyms their entire lives trying to make it in this boxing game, and this guy who decides to take it up 2 years ago is the reason why people are talking about it.
I want to ask Ariel a question here before we get back to Stugotz judging the rounds on this. You have brought journalism to your sport. You bring a credibility, and you are a person who cares about being a journalist. But you're also somebody who gets the fight game and gets the wrestling elements of it. So you say what to those who say, hey, Ariel, you are lending your name and credibility to a bit of a sham because you know that Jake Paul is not really a boxer. He's not a great boxer, and you know the mechanics of Woodley's not a striker, and he's not actually hunting down UFC champion. He's taking spent fighters that are easy for him to fight.
Yeah, I would say stop being hypocrites and lighten up a little bit, because at the end of the day, the people who are telling me you're above this, you're cage fighting fans, and I'm a cage fighting reporter. I'm not, we're not covering, politics here. We're not doing, healthcare. We're not doing anything like that. It's cage fighting. And so this idea that I'm above this or anyone else in the fight game is above this is absolutely ludicrous. And again, I would say, look, he's not, what is he making a mockery of? You guys are talking about Tyron Woodley like he's some bum off the street, like he's Nate Robinson. Tyron Woodley's a former
Ariel, why are you walking
rollerblading?
around? Are you rollerblading? Like, why are you walking? What are you doing?
He's on vacation.
Because it's pouring on me right now, and I'm trying to go under a tree so that I don't get soaked.
All right,
This is what I do for you guys.
All right.
Oh my God, you see that? A tree just fell on my head. How about this?
Okay.
This
You
is the
okay?
luck.
7
When
Helwani.
All right.
everyone said, "Oh, how did you not go to Metal Art? How could you do this to Dad? Look at the dedication that I have to Dad, LeBatard, and
What
Fred.
kind of
This is what I
dedication
do.
is this?
I'm in a hurricane right now, Dad. For
Helwani.
God's sakes, the winds are gusting at 85 miles per hour here.
Thank you,
Cat
Ariel.
one.
Helwani,
you.
I'm running.
you are 4 blocks from here, running through the rain by your own choice because you didn't want to be in this studio. We will get back to you.
That's
Hold on.
accurate.
Let's pause for a second and allow him to gather himself and find someplace under a tree or an umbrella where we can continue
Good
to
now.
get his thoughts. You're good now. Go ahead and defend yourself against claims that you're lending your credibility to a sham.
I mean, I don't understand what this sham is. Like I said, Tyron Woodley, if you look at his last few fights in the UFC, who's he losing to? Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman.
Why did you pick a playground?
So you went to a
10-8
playground.
Helwani.
You went
Who's he losing to? And by the way, this is going to do better numbers than all your other ridiculous.
I think I'm winning
Go
this
down
on
the slide.
I'm winning this on TKO.
Number one.
Go down the slide. Go down the
Go
slide.
down the slide.
down the
Go
slide.
down the
Ariel,
slide.
This is what we need.
Kids here. There's kids here. I
Ariel,
can't do that.
Ariel, this is what we need you to do, okay? And this is where we are. This is where we are. If you really and truly want to top your last appearance
Go down the
in
slide.
terms of views, no, but we need to get him to go down the slide. That's one thing. But another
Monkey
thing,
bars.
we need to tell you, we need you to tell more of the super secret Dana White stories while going down the slide, because the reason that got viewed so much is because you told the absolute truth, the way nobody does, about MMA and the compromises in the relationship between the UFC. And that's where Jake Paul, another place Jake Paul has been great. He's actually getting these fighters paid. He is in the slide right now. He is ready to go.
He's going to get stuck in the
I think I
slide.
can fit, guys. I got the dad bod going. I don't know if I can fit on this Ricky
You
Bobby
got
slide. I mean,
this.
look at it. Everyone's looking at me like I'm a sick. I don't know if I can do it. I gotta be honest. I mean, it's tough.
Go-
You got it. Come
You'll win
on.
the fight if
Are
you
you
do it, I
going?
promise.
Are you going head first?
Go head first.
You're-
Do it.
you're-
Someone's coming. There's a malfunction at the junction, guys. I don't know how to. Oh, here we go. Look, someone's coming
No.
up. It's one of Dana's goons. It's one of Dana's goons coming
You're
after
gonna
me.
either knock over a kid or get arrested. You're gonna get arrested.
Wait, but can I actually be serious for a second? Can I be serious? Can I give you some real
If you
journalism?
go down the slide.
The Dana White versus Jake Paul story is actually really fascinating because a lot of people don't know this. Jake Paul's advisor, his co-promoter, if you will, he started his own promotion company called Most Valuable Promotions. There's a guy named Nikisa Badarian. Nikisa Badarian is the former CFO of the UFC. He was in the room when the UFC was sold for $4.025 billion. So when you hear Jake Paul talk about Dana White, when you hear him talk about fighter pay and things like that, it's coming from a very educated place. And here's this 24-year-old YouTuber, whatever you want to call him, poking the bear, having the chutzpah, the panache to poke the bear that is the UFC and make them a little uncomfortable and do this brilliant thing where he's not calling out boxers who are on the same level as, say, Nathan Diaz or Jorge Masvidal. He's calling the Nathan Diaz and the Jorge Masvidals out, who are popular amongst the 18 to 34-year-olds. He's taking them out of MMA and saying, come meet me in the squared circle. You'll make more money, I'll make more money as a result. This whole blueprint, this whole gimmick is unlike anything we've ever seen, and it's working, and it's brilliant. That's why in the post-fight interview, he's not talking about, the boxer who's 5-0. And oh, by the way, for the Chris Whittinghams of the world who don't like what he is doing, let me ask you, who did Floyd Mayweather fight when he was 4-0? Who did Canelo Alvarez fight when he was 4-0? Who did any of these guys fight when he was 4-0?
Witty.
Certainly not someone with the resume and the toughness of a Tyron Woodley, regardless of the fact that he's 39 or on a 5-fight losing streak. He's actually fighting tougher opponents than people who are coming up in the boxing game.
All right.
That's fact right there.
All right, please back off. We need to get your audio a little bit better. What is the scoring? What is the scoring right now, Stugotz?
Bad now?
10-6 Helwani. He's won the first 4 rounds of this fight.
Floyd Mayweather won a gold medal before he started his professional boxing career. He had a
so
pedigree.
What?
He had a pedigree. What do you mean, so what?
Take a step back.
He's like, we won an Olympic gold medal.
Whittingham just hit you with a haymaker. He hit you with a haymaker there. It can't be so what. You're smiling in the face of adversity.
Cherokee Cortez to combine the records of Floyd Mayweather's first 5 fights. And by the way, I don't even want, like, it's silly to even talk about Floyd and Jake in this regard. He's not going to stick around for 50 fights. He's not in it, to be like a 30-0 boxer. But what he is doing now, this guy who.
Then again, what are we doing? What are we doing?
The fight game. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Don't
we want fighters to get paid more? Don't we want, why are you against this? I don't understand. We all want fighters to get more value in their pocket. We all want, Dan, you of all people have been talking about this. You should be championing the cause that is Jake Paul. All he is talking about is getting fighters paid more. Ask Amanda Serrano how much he got paid on Saturday as opposed to her previous fights. Ask Tyron Woodley, who got brutally knocked out, how much he got paid on Saturday. He made more on Saturday than his entire UFC career. So isn't that ultimately what we want? As long as no one's getting seriously hurt, I say it's a win-win.
But it's built off the back of someone who you just said is not really that interested in a boxing career. He's having a fleeting moment through boxing.
I never said that, Chris. I said not interested in becoming the next Floyd Mayweather. He's interested in going 10-0 and riding this thing till the wheels fall off. And by the way, I agree with something that you guys, I think, said yesterday. Who knows what happens if he loses, right? If this guy loses, he may never come back. That's why the whole thing is so kind of fleeting. It's like, oh my gosh, every fight feels like the referendum on the state of his boxing career, whatever that career is. I have rain on my glasses. Yes, thank you, Jessica.
I want to get your expertise on this, Ariel. Because
anyone ever done this for you, Dan? Has everyone?
No. Well, we're waiting for the payoff. We need you to go. We need you to do the slide at some point.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep
or a
talking.
swing.
Skipper, put another 0 on that paycheck, Skipper.
Is there a swing around you somewhere that you can do before the slide? Because we don't want
a teeter-totter.
We don't want you to get actually arrested for this, but we do need you to go down the slide. But I want to, before that, get your expertise on the pay, Ariel, because you've thoroughly reported this, and Disney and ESPN do not. The relationship between the UFC financially and Disney is keeping fighters underpaid in a way that's murky, because you've heard reported 18%. But explain to us, beyond what you just said about Woodley, explain to us what Jake Paul is doing when he keeps saying, hey, I'm getting these fighters paid. Dana, you're keeping all that money.
You know what he's doing? He's telling the truth. I mean, Tyron Woodley is getting paid more. Ben Askren did get paid more for that. And Jorge Masvidal and Nathan Diaz, God bless them, can say whatever they want. They're licking their lips. They're saying, please, let's make a deal here. Now, I don't think back in 2017, a lot of us in the fight game were like, oh, there's no chance they're going to do Floyd versus Conor, right? Conor had a lot of things going for him. And one of the top things he had going for him was timing. The UFC had just sold for $4.025 billion. The new owners were like, wait a second, we can make millions upon millions of dollars and not put up any of the production costs and really not do anything in terms of promotion and do this co-promotion with Floyd and Showtime. We're in. Now the UFC is doing much better than they were in 2017. They just had their best year ever financially. However, I don't think it's honestly beyond a realm of possibility that they would either A, co-promote with Jake Paul, or B, see a situation where Conor fights out his contract. 2 fights left, by the way, 1 fight left on Nathan Diaz's deal. And we see a fight like this. All these guys are seeing what Jake is generating, are seeing what can you keep it down over there, guys? I'm doing an interview here with Metal Arc Media. I mean, for God's sake.
The playground instruments, you got to leave them alone. I mean, come on.
It's crazy. So this is the beauty of boxing, and this is why I get so upset when people say boxing is dead. Boxing is dead. Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, women's boxing is doing better than ever. Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. I mean, I could go on and on with the great boxers right now who are making a considerable amount more money than their equivalent in the sport of MMA. Because in boxing, you are a part of the pie more so than in MMA. In MMA, it's the UFC that takes their share. They take your sponsors. They have a say in all the stuff. In boxing, like Jake Paul was a 50-50 partner on that deal on Saturday. 50-50 partner on that. And who knows how much he's going to make on pay-per-view. So it's just the structure. Pro wrestling and MMA are a lot more equal than MMA and boxing. And all these MMA fighters are starting to open their eyes, and they're starting to realize that there's just a lot of money for them to be made. Unless you're the top 1% like Connor, and like I said back in July, and I haven't been asked back, and maybe after this appearance I won't be asked back again, and I'm sorry for this. I'm really sorry. But
why?
Don't be.
1%,
Don't be. It's been magical.
You know,
We just need the
you're not
slide.
going to make that money.
We just need the payoff of you getting on the slide. But Whittingham has something else for you here.
Are you not concerned?
Chris, please.
Are you not concerned at all, Ariel? That you mentioned Mayweather-McGregor as another of these massive fights that made a ton of money and drew mainstream media interest. These are stunts. Like, these are not actual fights that are based off the merit of title belts, either in the UFC or in boxing. These are just stunts. Like, Jake Paul and McGregor and Mayweather are not actual fights that have real ramifications on anything. I understand that in some ways, boxing and MMA is about the circus tent and about entertainment. But this has nothing to do with these fighters being good and fighting at the top of, whatever weight class they're in.
Tag me in, Dan. Hot tag Helwani.
Go ahead. What do you got? Let's go.
Pro wrestling. I'm holding the string on the corner of the ring, and I need the hot tag.
Let's go. Let's go. Jump in.
Let me ask you, Chris. Are you a big boxing fan?
Not really.
Do you watch DAZN? Do you watch Showtime? Do you watch ESPN Plus?
I have DAZN for the darts. It's tremendous.
Did you watch Artur Beterbiev on Friday night in Montreal? No. And so my question is, why are you so concerned about the state of boxing? That's what I love about the hypocrisy here. Everyone loves to be all high and mighty about, the sanctity of boxing with their 4 million belts and their corrupt judges and their corrupt refereeing. And, Jake Paul, he's making us so uncomfortable because he is ruining the sanctity of boxing. Since when is boxing?
It's only exacerbating the problem, though. You're only making it worse.
What problem? How is he making it worse? Getting fighters paid more money, getting more eyeballs on the sport. How is this actually making it worse? If anything, this is actually bringing more attention because on a Tuesday, in the midst of the NFL season, in the midst of the college football playoffs, what are we talking about? We're talking about boxing.
We're talking about a famous guy who is not actually contributing.
It's a sideshow.
He doesn't get it, Ariel.
You can have this take. Here's the bottom line. And I'm not trying to be, insulting towards you. I have a lot of respect for you. I'm not trying to be insulting. Here's the thing, though. If you are a hardcore boxing fan, you are allowed. I won't even say that you're right, but you are allowed to have this take. You're not a hardcore boxing fan. You don't watch boxing. You have no interest in boxing. So why are you so bothered about this? If anything, I would say you should appreciate this because at least you're being exposed to boxing. I can guarantee you that there's a lot of kids, because I saw them with my own eyes on Saturday in Tampa, holding up posters of Jake Paul.
I hear them right behind
Go ask
you
one
right
of the kids.
now.
Yeah, go ask them if they watch the
kids
fight.
right now.
Go ask
8
them
years
right
old
now.
with posters
Go ask them.
asking for autographs of Jake Paul. This is actually exposing the sport of boxing to a whole other demographic. That
you think that they're then going to turn on the PBC on Saturday night on Fox as a result of this?
They're going to go train and they're going to go try to be like Jake Paul, who just knocked out Tyron Woodley. That's what they're going to go do. And so, it's like when people tell me you're above this, I'm like, well, what do you watch on Saturday night? You're watching cage fighting, and I cover cage fighting. Trust me, I ain't above this. I watch pro wrestling for a living. I don't know what you guys thought of me, but I'm not freaking Mother Teresa over here. Okay, I chose to cover cage fighting for a living. I ain't above two guys with 10-ounce gloves punching each other in the middle of the ring. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Are you above getting on that slide again and taking us on a magical journey?
I'm a little embarrassed.
Okay, no, it's okay. But Ariel,
you just want a big
you know what?
fight. Go ahead, do it.
I'm going to do it because a lot of, this one's for Andrew Marchand and everyone out there who had a lot to say about the state of my career a few months ago.
Oh, you're the king, dude. Listen, don't listen.
Just pretend you're FaceTiming a kid.
No, look, this is Ariel Helwani has been in handcuffs. He's been caged for a long time. This is free,
independent Helwani.
Free
What a way to
Ariel
end the year,
Helwani.
Dan.
Look at this. He's an independent. He can do Showtime. Do it.
Viva Helwani. This is for everyone out there struggling right now at the end of 2021, feeling like they are stuck, like they are soulless, like they have no hope. This is me on the proverbial slide of life, winning, Dan, okay?
Now, do you want to hold on? I know you're stuck there. Do you want to give us some Dana White take as you go down, like a super secret Dana White
take?
But I'm saying you can land and do it.
Low hanging fruit. Dan, you're better than this, okay? This is low hanging fruit, okay? We can't play the same old hits time and again. There's a lot more to talk about, okay? What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about my big exclusive interview with Michelle Beadle a couple of weeks ago on my independent podcast? Let's get some plugs out here, Dan.
All right,
okay,
all right. Go ahead, plug yourself as much as you want going down the slide.
Plug yourself or give us some inspirational anecdote because you were very inspirational there. And Maybe that's the way to do this. Give us words to live by for the new year.
He's bigger than the slide.
Bret Hart shorts.
Listen, shout out to Bret Hart, the hitman, the best there is, the best there is. I mean, if I'm not a
There's a
total
kid at
loser
the
up
bottom
here,
of the slide that looks
I
horrified.
know. I just
What
wanted
a
to.
great
I
shot
want
this
with
is.
no
How's my
one getting
fit?
hurt. I want him
Jessica,
to
how's my
take out
fit,
a
Jessica?
chair.
How's my fit?
What shoes?
10 out of 10. Better than Woody's fit, also.
These are Nike SBs, baby.
Classics too with the fat tongue.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Now, ask me if I've ever skateboarded before. Obviously, the answer is no, but I like how they fit. Okay, so should I go down? This is what I'll just say. If you would have asked me a year ago, Dan, and we had some heart-to-hearts, right? Ariel, would you be here end of December on a slide talking to Metal Arc Media, happier than ever, freer than ever, more content than ever, more fulfilled than ever, more appreciative and grateful than ever? No, the answer is no. I wouldn't have believed it because I was in a rut. I was in the gutter. But here I am, and I can think of no better way. I'm not going to do a single thing for the rest of the year because there's no way that I can top this. So at the end of the day, this one's for Jake Paul. This is for all the haters out there. Here I go. Oh, no one told me that it was going to be very. No one told me it was going to be very wet at the bottom of the slide, guys. It was a big puddle.
Well, yeah.
And now my boxes are all
Ariel,
wet. Golly.
No one
Ariel,
told you there.
Ariel, we lost the shot.
We lost the shot, Ariel.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do it
Mike.
again.
You got to do
Mike,
it
I'm
again.
not doing it again, okay?
We lost the shot.
One more
honestly.
time.
It
One
blipped.
more time.
Ariel, your phone didn't. You're the guy. You're the content
One
king.
more
Time.
time.
Ariel, I'm
One
sorry.
more
Where's
time.
One
Where's
more
Nate?
time.
You're the content.
Where's that Nat? Where's that Nat David Sampson? I got a few things to say about him. All of a sudden, he's
taking
popping up talking
everyone
about
out.
There is so
Montreal
much.
Expos.
There is so much
Where's
rain
that
on your
guy?
glasses.
Go on.
Yeah. Oh, you're not a fan of David Sampson either? I mean, hey, David, why don't you keep your takes on the city of Montreal and baseball to yourself? Because guess what? No one cares about him, buddy.
You sound like
burn.
an unhinged crazy person. You're surrounded by children
totally
yelling
unhinged.
about the Montreal Expos with wet shorts, and we're swearing to you. We're not trying to make a fool of you. We just missed the
Oh, I know
money
you
shot. We missed the money shot because you slid down in
now
a
it's
way.
actually-
It crapped out, so we didn't see you land. We didn't see any of it. And so we need it again just because we need the payoff still. We're not trying to embarrass you.
Listen, Juju told me that he got the shot. He's flipping it off right now. Look at this. I mean, there's like a whole like water thing going on over there.
Run through
It's great. I'm not doing this for you guys, okay? I'm not some circus monkey that just plays your favorite hits, okay? Especially not when you only invite me on every 5 months.
See you later, Helwani. See you later.
Let me
Happy
tell you
for
something
you.
right now. This is for all guys. Lighten the F up, okay? This is supposed to be fun. Enough with your sanctimonious takes on a sport that you don't even watch. If you're watching Archer Better BM at
Witty.
11 o'clock on ESPN Plus on a Friday night, you could talk about the state of boxing. If not, I got 2 words for you in the words of the great Triple H. Tell it. Tell them, Mike. Tell them, Mike. Say it. Say it with me. One,
What?
two,
No,
three.
I want you. You're gonna say it at a playground? Yes. All right. Let's do it on 3. You say those 2 words at a playground on 3, as loud as you
have to,
can.
Ariel.
No.
Do
You
it.
say
Yeah,
those 2
scream it.
words
Yes.
at a
no,
playground.
Not in a playground.
Yeah, go for
Do
it.
Be
I'm about to
careful.
say it.
Do
I
it.
got- they're-
Oh.
Guys, look, I just want to show you something. I mean, at this point, I'm either getting arrested or not. They're all watching me. They're like all standing there.
They are.
What's going on?
They're
This is
going to
what-
call the police on you.
Yes.
You can't
I've
be
totally
an adult
lost
in
my
a
mind. This isn't
playground.
actually going on air, right? This is just amongst friends, correct? They thought they could keep us down, Dad. They thought that they could keep Al Nardi's down. They'll never keep us down.
Over the career of Joe Buck, Stugotz, you have watched someone go from prodigy, someone given a job as a golden voice, doing Super Bowls and the most prestigious events in his early 20s, somebody who's been a voice around sports for a really long time. His father was legendary, cranky and eloquent baseball guy, Jack Buck. So he was starting with nepotism, alleged, but he was also a prodigy, exceptional from the very start. Whittingham is the best we got around here in terms of child prodigy as a broadcaster, and Buck was doing the biggest games at like 23 years old. Over the last 20, 25 years, even for a while trying an HBO talk series that was meant to just show his clever range outside of sports, as he's friends with Paul Rudd and all these other people. A really clever person who was great at Brockmire when he tried to act for a minute. He just came in and stole scenes because he's great. But he is one of the most polarizing broadcasters somehow of our times, where a lot of people really don't like him, don't like whatever it is, the emotion, or he's rooting against your team. And then something happened this weekend, and this was interesting, where Joe Buck got dragged, Stugotz, because he suggested that a player being carted off the field on a stretcher, as we're all made deeply uncomfortable by the violence of football. His arms were shaking on the stretcher, and, we don't know whether it's just seizure, paralysis, what weird thing this violent game does to human bodies. And Joe Buck says that it's cold in Los Angeles. And the recoil on that, as if he was covering for the sport or dancing around, whatever it is, the unethical parts of this sport are, as we, through the gladiator shit of violent men ruining their bodies,
right,
and CTE studies showing that what this sport does to people is he ravages their bodies and brains in a way possibly that can be linked to science. That is a great discomfort to have at the center of America's most popular sport. And it felt like Joe Buck was bullshitting us. And the recoil on that, to me, was fascinating to watch the way people turned on Buck. And it's layered because, first of all, there's the discomfort of all of us want someone to blame there. But can it be the thing we love, which is the sport we're all gathered around watching? Or can we just blame because of the helplessness of this, watching this at the center of my favorite thing? Why don't I lash out at Buck because he's the voice of this thing and he's over here, and what a ridiculous thing for him to say. Let me be outraged. Let me blame somebody. Let me go after the broadcaster because he's saying what seems to be covering for my discomfort with what I'm watching, which is that can happen at any time.
It seems to be flippant. I think that's the problem. You can be mad at both, Dan. You can understand, like, the game does this
he
to
wasn't
certain
joking.
people.
This was not flippant. This was not a joke that Buck was making.
I'm saying it seems like Joe Buck knows the guy being carted off the field is not shaking.
No, the reaction to Joe Buck was, this is bullshit, Joe. Don't try and camouflage this for me.
I would say nothing. If I were Joe Buck, if Joe Buck had to do it over again, I think saying nothing might be.
I'm not asking you that, though. The part I'm not asking you, he's wrong to do that. Whatever it is, however it is that lands, that should land wrong. Like, what are you talking about? It's cold in Los Angeles. That's not the part I'm asking you about. I'm asking you about why that reaction to Joe Buck, why that strong, the dragging of Joe Buck. Does it have anything to do with you're watching something and you're made uncomfortable by, or is it just the words? Is it just the silliness? Because you know what he's saying is bullshit, but you also know what you're watching is really dangerous, and that can happen at any time. And it's your fandom, your support, your identity, your cheering, your happiness on weekends is tied up in at the center of all of what I'm watching for entertainment. That can happen to somebody who's a human being. And then this weekend, Stugotz, Scott Hansen, I was thinking about this when it happened. In the Jets game, Scott Hansen, I imagine someone who loves Riley. Forgive me, I forget his first name.
Elijah Riley.
Elijah Riley. I imagine someone who loves Riley watching the Red Zone channel, and Scott Hansen couldn't get the video of, I'm told he was articulating, I'm told he gave a thumbs up, but they couldn't find the video of it. And I was imagining somebody who loves Elijah Riley watching that and just getting voice confirmation from Hansen that he's got movement in his extremities, but not being able to see it for himself on the video. It made me think somebody loves this person and is deeply, deeply scared right now. And the Red Zone channel, some of these channels will just pull away from these things so that you can't see them. And the amount of humanity that gets lost in that transaction is forever punching me in the face whenever there's a prayer circle.
To be fair to Scott Hansen, they actually said on the CBS broadcast, we're not going to show you this because it was that grisly. It was actually teammates colliding with each other. It doesn't have anything to do with the physicality of football in a traditional sense, which is guy hits guy on opposition teams, and therefore, there's this huge hit. It was actually friendly fire in this case, but the CBS broadcast never showed what happened to him. And they decided after coming out of a commercial break, we're not going to show it to you. And like you said, like those are moments where you consider family. Like there was a lot of controversy about this during the Euros with what happened to Christian Eriksen, where they kept showing it. They showed the circle around him, and ESPN and UEFA took a lot of criticism for that. So they decided to err on the side of let's not traumatize his family who might be watching on television and not put it on camera.
But just back to Joe Buck for a second, I'm surprised that you're surprised by the backlash he received for doing that.
Oh, I'm not surprised. I'm just asking you about the backlash. I'm asking you, the question I'm asking you, are they reacting to the bullshit? Are they reacting because there's no place
They're reacting because they don't like Joe Buck to begin with, and then the bullshit. Yes. It's a combination of both.
What is this about? Is this about you covering for the league or you saying something dumb?
Well, what do you think, though? What is your guess? Because I can't believe that Joe Buck is on there trying to cover for paralysis. It has to be that this is something dumb that he thought
it sounds like he said something dumb. It doesn't sound like he was trying to cover for the league. It sounds like he just said something terrible.
You're handling traumatic moments in real time. Both the viewer and the commentator. Like, I don't know what I'd say in that spot.
Yeah, but he has an expectation level. He has set the bar very high for being professional broadcasting.
Real time and a hot mic when you're live, you are afforded some benefit of the doubt. Even Joe Buck. This was actually after that instance had occurred. It was almost as if he was baking the idea. And I think what happened mostly with that reaction was he was trying to search for ways to, I told you earlier in the week, I saw the replay. I was like, where did he get hurt? So I think he was trying to search for answers. But while he was doing so, he kind of sounded like a corporate shill that had thought out this take.
And what I'm asking all of you is, was he? Because I don't know how, I don't think I don't imagine anything other than the best in people who are the maximum professional. This is a prodigy. He may have just said something dumb. I haven't even talked to him about what he was thinking in that moment. Stugotz, I'm not surprised in any way by the backlash. I'm asking everybody here to examine the backlash.
No, and it sounds to me, I'm just saying, Dan, the way it's described, that he said something dumb, that I'm certain that he probably regrets.
Yeah, I think he said something dumb, and whether or not you can know his intentions, which I think we will never know, it rubs people the wrong way when they're watching something and you see something really, really serious happen, and you feel like maybe Joe Buck is saying something that sounds like a defense of the NFL. And we don't know his intentions, but that was how it came off to a lot of people based off of the backlash.
That's at the heart of the tension of being on any broadcast where you have to pay a rights fee. Because you can always be accused, no matter the broadcast that you're doing, that you're in the pocket of the people you're doing the broadcast for.
What I'm asking all of you, and I'm asking the audience, and forgive me if I have not made this clear in parsing this subject matter. What do you think? Are you jumping to the conclusion that's more nefarious than dumb? Because I felt that part of the reaction in the backlash was absolutely, this dude's selling me a crock of shit because he's bought and paid for, and that's just not how I think of Joe Buck.
No, and it's also like what the audience member is bringing emotionally to the interaction. You've already seen something traumatic multiple times. You're feeling like you don't know what to think or what to feel. It's a difficult situation to go through, and then you're ready to pounce on whatever is, whether it's the medical team handling it poorly, whether it's the commentator saying something wrong.
A helplessness.
It's about what you're bringing to the interaction as an audience member, not necessarily about what he said.
But he doesn't come off as a shill. Dan, I'm with you. Like, to me, it's just a professional broadcaster, the most professional broadcaster, slipping up and saying something dumb.
But it's also something that's incredibly dumb, right? Like,
yes.
I don't know what I would say in the situation, but I haven't called hundreds of, maybe thousands of sports games before. Like, it's incredibly stupid to look at that and know what we know about concussions and traumatic brain injuries and the fencing response and all of these injuries that we've seen before and be like, well, it's cold out.
But you're also, as a commentator, like I've talked to people who like are producers and they've given me advice. Like, even if you think you've seen someone pull a hammy, you shouldn't say they pulled a hammy because you don't know. Like, as much as you can think, and we've seen anecdotally, like what the response is, you don't know, which is also why you shouldn't put forward theories about the weather. But also, like, you don't know anything about what happened. You haven't got any medical diagnoses. Don't guess.
I think that's exactly right. And it was that, I don't know if he said, like, we don't want to speculate right before this, or he implied.
Well, that was the
like,
other part. Yeah, that was the other part. He did say you don't want to imply about injuries. And then it came,
he did.
And then, yeah, but I probably should just call Joe Buck. Instead of you guys
Why are you asking us?
calling him stupid and dumb thing, and we will never know his motives. Maybe I should just call him and ask him.
So on this phone call, are you saying, "Hey Joe, are you stupid or are you a shill for the NFL?" How are we phrasing this question to
Should
Joe
we
Buck
call
on the
him?
phone?
Should we now? Do we need to call him? We need to call him.
Don't drag me into this. This is your fight.
Yep, you call him. I mean,
You asked the question.
All right, let's call it. I should have said this long before now. We missed Greg Cody today. Apologies for not telling you before now that Greg Cody was not feeling well, and so we decided to have everyone just stay at home and him not to have to do the show via Zoom, where he is often a disaster. So allow him to rest today, and hopefully he will be back after the holidays. In the interim, though, a staple of the show, Billy Gill, your useless sound montage. It is craved nationally and internationally. Every Tuesday, people want to hear the useless things that football players said. How good is this week's batch of useless sound?
7.5, I would say.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
you like this. This is
Out of 30.
Okay. Very good.
Think we froze again.
Appreciative of all the efforts. I like the way the guys collectively smiled in the face of adversity.
It wasn't perfect, but when you're playing the best teams in the league, that's the way you got to win football games.
As far as the game goes, obviously we didn't do anything well enough to win. Didn't play well, didn't coach well. Too many penalties, fumbles, interceptions.
He's got leadership skills. He's got great experience. He smiles in the face of adversity. That's contagious. There was some tangible and intangible quality to his presence today.
We're going to become the team that we're ultimately capable of being.
Coach Reed always reminds me when I'm feeling a little sore. He always kind of throws a jab at me. He said, "Feel like you're 22 again, baby." And instead of 32, I was 22 tonight.
You know, if I could jump, I'd jump, with excitement.
I can't remember last time I shut out, and or us. But our kicking game, our kickers let us down also.
Obviously, you don't score points, you're not going to win.
Winning in this kind of weather is a great opportunity for us to gain, the confidence as we move forward.
It's the NFL. No sob stories. You just get the job done.
Still a chance, So you're saying there's a chance? Isn't that the old movie line or whatever?
Business is business. I'm really proud of our guys. I felt like we competed like champions today.
I felt like we started fast today and then kind of stalled out a little bit.
Unacceptable, and you can't win until you stop from losing.
There's no such thing as a 17-point touchdown, and we got to approach it that way if we get in this situation again.
Kind of sloppy, kind of ugly, but a huge win nonetheless.
We had some uphill sledding in the second half.
I just don't think it was our best effort. It starts with me just throughout the week. It is what it is.
We just fought. At the end of the day, they didn't play any different coverages. We didn't call any different plays. Just guys stepped up to the challenge.
I thought the defense played pretty well, and I just shot him in the foot myself.
There were too many self-inflicted wounds today.
Initially, the ball was spotted where they spotted it, and then replay assist comes in, New York comes in, and then, calls the call.
I think we're just trying to take it one day at a time, get better.
We're going to have to continue to work each and every day to improve. We'll take it one day at a time, one game at a time.
In this league, that's what you have to do, good or bad. It doesn't matter what happened that last play. You have to go out there and do it even better that next one.
Turnovers leveled the playing field in the second half and provided the short fields for us, and that was the catalyst for us to go ahead and secure victory.
It's just a really shitty throw. Sorry my language.
Billy, I have a number of different questions. If I could jump, I'd jump. Was that Andy Reid?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was. I mean, who else would it be?
Okay, I didn't know. I couldn't tell from the voice, but
everyone else could jump.
I was hoping it was Andy Reid. Who was it that said you can't win? Did I hear it right? Until you stop from losing?
I think that was Mac Jones, who is a star of saying nothing.
He's as good as it gets, right? Patriot way, get up there.
The Patriot way is all in his veins already.
What does can't win until you stop? Like, what does that mean? You can't win until you stop from losing. Okay,
you know
thank
what
you.
that means.
Okay.
You have to stop losing before you win, Dan.
Okay.
I mean, duh.
Okay, my bad. And also, I want to get to this because I love that Tomlin talks this way, because I believe he talks this way at his home. I believe that his wife and kids are just tired of Dad Tomlin saying you got to smile collectively in the face of adversity. It's not just that you have to endure adversity or you have to challenge, overcome challenges.
Laugh at it.
You have to stand there and adversity has arrived and you are smiling. You are
a great father-in-law.
Do you think? You think Tomlin would be a great father-in-law?
Oh, absolutely.
1,000%.
You think if
he's fun at parties, I think he lets his hair down. Like obviously at work, he means business. I think he can have a fun time.
Oh, he would kill at categories. Kill at it.
I think Andy Reid would be a good father-in-law as well.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Would Mike Tomlin kill at categories? I am surprised. So you are dating or you are engaged to Mike Tomlin's daughter. You believe you've been romantic or you think you've been romantic enough that Mike Tomlin approves of his child?
I mean, Dan, do you get into the romance of your relationship with your father-in-law? No, I mean, that stuff gets left, we don't talk about that stuff.
I'm asking you whether you think you could live up to the standards that Mike Tomlin has for you as you marry his son or daughter, because I think those are going to be pretty discerning standards. I think they're going to be a standard that never falls under 500.
I think that Mike Tomlin would just be happy that his child found someone that made them happy.
I think you'd just be a nameless gray face.
He'd never know you. He'd never see you because he's too busy walking past you to smile in the face of adversity because he's too busy thinking about football. He can't care about anything else. Walking past you unblinking.
There should be a 17-point touchdown. I don't know who said it, but there should be a spot on the field where if you're standing there and you're down 17 and you throw the ball 80 yards, it's a 17-point touchdown.
One
Game
foot has to
tied.
be in the spot.
Yeah. It was
Wait, does the
Kingsbury.
thrower have to be in the spot, Stugotz, or the catcher have to be in the spot?
No, the thrower, 1 foot in the circle, 17-point touchdown. The thrower has to have 1 foot in that circle.
How about this? How about there's random spots with like a +5, +6, +7, whatever, but they can add up. So if the quarterback has a foot in one of those and the receiver has a foot in another, you can get that plus the quarterback's points, plus the receiver's points, plus the touchdowns points. 17-point play.
Sold.
You can have the running back run towards the different parts of the field that have bonus points in them.
Ooh.
So he's not taking a straight line to the end zone. He is just trying to collect points on his way to the end zone.
Like the American Gladiators, you have to run over something, and if you hit it properly, then colored smoke comes up, and then you know that they secured those points.
It has
just fix football.
It has to just be Micah Parsons brought in from a different game. It always has to be Micah Parsons.
Smoke is such a dramatic effect that it's no surprise that it's always at the crux of any time we try to change sports with rule changes. You need to have smoke involved.
Is there any particular...
Even the magic at bat, the guy had to come out to a cloud of smoke. You're right, Mike.
It does help. In terms of the creation of magic, put it on the poll, Guillermo. If you're in need of the creation of magic,
help in terms of the creation of magic.
Does smoke help?